on the roof of the world, where the earth reaches upward to touch the thin blue sky, dawn unfolds in a quiet, majestic stillness. This is the high Altiplano of the Andes, a vast sweeping plateau resting nearly 4,000 meters above sea level. As the night surrenders to a new spring morning, the temperature hovers just below freezing, crisp and biting in the thin atmosphere. A gentle wind sweeps effortlessly across the rolling plains, whispering through dense cushions of stiff bunch grass and dry mountain shrubs. In the distance, the sharp crunch of gravel marks the careful footsteps of unseen hooves. Far overhead, the clear morning air carries the faint, resonant call of an Andean goose echoing across the silent landscape. Slowly, the first rays of the sun crest the jagged horizon. Golden light spills down the slopes of towering, snow-dusted volcanic peaks, painting the ancient stone in warm hues of amber and rose. Mist rises lazily from the low, damp turf, dissolving into the brilliant morning sky. This high-altitude ecosystem, known locally as the Puna, is a place of stark contrasts, bathed in intense solar radiation by day and locked in freezing temperatures by night. Yet, despite the environmental extremes, life here is exquisitely adapted. The air holds barely half the oxygen found at sea level, requiring specialized physiology for every creature that calls this windswept sanctuary home. In the shelter of a golden tussock meadow, sheltered from the waking chill, the plateau rests in profound, peaceful anticipation. Upon the volcanic soil of the meadow, sheltered by a low ridge of weathered rock, a profound transition occurs. Out of the quiet stillness of the dawn, a new life emerges into the high mountain air. A newborn cria rests gently against the earth, wet with the quiet fluids of birth, taking its very first breaths of the oxygen-sparse Puna atmosphere. Every breath is a delicate, hard-won effort. At 4,000 meters, the barometric pressure is low, meaning each inhalation delivers far fewer molecules of oxygen to the lungs. Yet, South American camelids are masterly equipped for this altitude. The cria's blood is already rich with a specialized, high-affinity hemoglobin, a remarkable evolutionary adaptation inherited through generations, designed to bind tightly to oxygen and deliver it efficiently to every developing tissue, even when the air is breathtakingly thin. A few yards away, the rest of the herd stands in silent, watchful reverence. Their long, elegant necks curve gracefully against the brightening sky, ears twitching occasionally to catch the sound of the soft wind sweeping across the tussock grass. They form a protective ring of calm awareness around the newcomer. There is no panic, only a deep, instinctive patience that flows through the family group. The mother lowers her long neck toward her newborn, her dark, luminous eyes filled with a steady, grounding peace. With slow and deliberate movements, she begins to nudge the fragile form, welcoming her offspring into the vast and magnificent world of the high Altiplano. The mother begins her vigil with a soft, steady rhythm of tactile reassurance. Leaning close, she breathes in the scent of her newborn, her velvety muzzle gently brushing against the damp fleece. This intimate exchange of scent establishes an unbreakable chemical bond, unique and enduring among herd mammals. To calm the resting cria, she emits a low, resonant humming sound deep within her chest. This gentle vibration travels through the crisp morning air, a soothing lullaby that echoes softly across the tussock grass. The familiar frequency acts as an auditory anchor, assuring the fragile newcomer of absolute safety within the vast, open landscape. With slow, methodical sweeps of her tongue, she begins the delicate task of grooming. Every upward stroke cleanses the soft wool, stimulating circulation and encouraging the tiny body to warm under the rising sun. As she licks away the remaining moisture, her warm breath coaxes the wet fibers apart, allowing the golden light to reach the skin and quicken the drying process. Throughout this tender ministration, the mother remains entirely attuned to the rhythm of her offspring's breathing. Each soft sigh from the cria is met with an answering murmur, a continuous dialogue of touch and sound that bridges the silence of the high plateau. Resting securely against her warm flank, shielded from the gentle morning drafts by her sheltering form, the newborn surrenders completely to the restorative peace of the moment. Protected by maternal devotion, the tiny camelid gathers its strength, drifting in a quiet, safe slumber while the golden Altiplano light washes over them both. Bathed in the advancing warmth of the Andean sun, the newborn cria undergoes a profound transformation. Its wet fleece, matted from birth, catches the golden rays and begins to steam gently in the thin, crisp air. Underneath this damp outer layer lies an extraordinary evolutionary design. Unlike many other ungulates, South American camelids are born with a fine, dense coat rather than a thick layer of fat. This specialized fleece traps pockets of insulating air close to the skin, providing immediate protection against the drastic temperature fluctuations of the high Puna. As the sun climbs higher, casting long shadows across the bunch grass, the drying fibers fluff outward. The coat shifts from a slick, dark tangle into a cloud of soft, cinnamon-toned wool. This rapid drying is vital for survival at such elevations, where the wind carries a persistent chill even on clear mornings. Every physical detail of the cria reflects specialized adaptation to the extreme heights. Its large, dark eyes, shaded by prominent lashes, are already clear and observant, perfectly suited for tracking movement across the glaring open plains. The slender legs, though currently folded in repose, possess high-density bone structures designed to support future travels over rocky terrain. Deep within its chest, a specialized cardiovascular system, rich in hemoglobin and uniquely adapted red blood cells, efficiently captures every scarce molecule of oxygen from the thin atmosphere. For now, these biological marvels rest in quiet latency. Wrapped in the comforting warmth of the morning, the drying cria breathes deeply, its small rib cage rising and falling in serene synchrony with the peaceful rhythm of the high plateau. A few paces away, the rest of the maternal herd moves with a slow, deliberate grace through the sea of golden bunchgrass. These experienced females and their older offspring graze peacefully, their rhythmic chewing blending with the soft wind sweeping across the tussock grass. They form a protective, living perimeter around the new mother and her resting cria. In the open expanses of the high Altiplano, where distant shadows can signal potential danger from roaming colpeo foxes, the collective vigilance of the herd provides an indispensable sanctuary. Yet, there is no tension in their movements, only a steady, calming awareness. The mother remains anchored beside her newborn, occasionally lifting her long, elegant neck to survey the horizon before returning her gaze downward. This communal living is a cornerstone of Andean camelid survival, offering social security that allows the most vulnerable members to rest undisturbed. The surrounding adults maintain a respectful distance, granting the quiet pair space while quietly anchoring the sanctuary with their calming presence. Lying sheltered against its mother's warm flank, the cria feels the steady, reassuring thrum of her heartbeat through the earth and air. The distant crunch of gravel under gentle hooves fades into a soothing background rhythm, punctuated only by the faint rustle of dry mountain shrubs and the distant call of an Andean goose echoing over a glacial tarn. Cradled by the vastness of the mountains and guarded by the tranquil herd, the newborn surrenders to sleep, storing its boundless energy for the journey ahead. In the quiet stillness of the plateau, time seems to stretch. The newborn cria rests flat against the mineral-rich soil, its slender limbs tucked neatly beneath its warm, dry frame. In this profound stillness, internal restoration takes over. During these moments of postpartum slumber, a vital biological process unfolds within the infant's nervous system. The Kriya's muscles, having endured the sudden transition from the liquid weightlessness of the womb to the crisp gravity of the high Puna, begin to relax and re-energize. Evolution has shaped South American camelids for immediate endurance, yet a newborn's motor pathways still require a brief window of neural integration. As the little one sleeps, electrical impulses fire steadily along developing neural pathways, priming the leg muscles for their very first coordinated contractions. Its delicate hooves, soft and sponge-like at birth to protect the mother during delivery, are already beginning to harden into the durable, two-toed pads characteristic of high-altitude walkers. These specialized feet, featuring leathery soles and sharp, curved nails for traction on steep scree, will soon need to support the Kriya across shifting gravel and uneven turf. Breathing slows into a deep, steady rhythm, matching the tranquil cadence of the morning. Every inhalation draws in the rarefied oxygen, which binds efficiently to a specialized hemoglobin configuration inherited through generations of highland adaptation. This unique blood chemistry ensures that even in repose, every tissue receives ample oxygen under the thin atmospheric pressure of 4,000 meters. Safe and utterly undisturbed, the resting Kriya gathers the vitality required for the great awakening just ahead. The morning sun crests the rugged volcanic peaks, casting a long, warm golden glow across the high-altitude pasture. High above the timberline, the air is thin, crisp, and alive with the quiet stillness of dawn. A gentle morning wind sweeps softly through the rustling tussock grass, carrying the faint, sweet scent of damp earth and alpine moss. Against this vast, rocky canvas, a tiny form stirs. The newborn Kriya rests nestled low among low-lying cushion plants, which have absorbed the night's chill and now slowly release stored warmth into the quiet air. The young animal blinks heavy, dark eyes against the brilliant daylight, taking in the immense contours of its new world for the very first time. Its fleece, damp from the quiet arrival just hours before, catches the rising sunlight. As a soft breeze drifts across the plateau, the dense fibers dry completely, fluffing into a thick, protective halo of soft wool. This luxurious coat is essential for survival in an environment where temperatures plummet drastically as soon as the sun dips below the horizon. Nearby, a distant gravel crunch marks the casual movement of the grazing herd, a grounding rhythm in the vast quiet. The world is waking up slowly, measured in long shadows and the gradual warming of volcanic stone. The Kriya shifts its weight against the earth, stretching out slender limbs that seem impossibly long and delicate. Every breath is deep and steady, drawing in the revitalizing oxygen of the high mountains, preparing the young body for the monumental task of rising to meet the day. The Kriya begins the delicate work of neuromuscular coordination, testing the sleepy pathways between brain and bone. In these first waking hours, the nervous system floods with sensory input, translating the bright alpine light and the cool touch of volcanic soil into actionable impulses. The young animal slowly folds and unfolds its impossibly long, spindly limbs, flexing slender joints that have known only the tight confines of gestation until now. Muscle fibers contract and relax in slow, rhythmic pulses, sending tiny tremors through the fragile frame as the Kriya attempts to gather its weight directly beneath its center of gravity. Each leg operates almost independently, requiring an immense surge of concentration from the developing brain to achieve even basic postural alignment. The knees and ankles, temporarily loose and unpracticed, wobble gently with every tentative shift of weight. Lying low against the cushion plants, the Kriya draws its front legs inward, tucking the slender hooves beneath its chest. It presses down into the dark, granular earth, testing the resistance of the mountain floor. The shoulder muscles bunch and release, converting chemical energy into steady, upward force. Every microscopic adjustment of posture helps calibrate the internal gyroscope nestled within the inner ear, helping the young mammal calculate the precise angle needed to counteract the relentless pull of gravity. It is a slow, methodical awakening of biological engineering, practiced quietly in the stillness of the high-altitude morning. Standing protectively nearby, the mother emits a series of soft, rhythmic humming sounds that drift over the rocky earth like a warm breeze. These low-frequency vibrations, produced deep within her throat, serve as an acoustic anchor for the newborn, cutting through the gentle morning wind and the distant crunch of loose gravel. Camelid mothers rely on this acoustic bond to maintain constant contact, and the steady oscillation of her voice stimulates the cria's nervous system, encouraging it to persist in its physical struggle. With every resonant note, the female takes a slow step closer, offering gentle tactile reassurance by lowering her long neck to graze the top of the cria's damp fleece. Her warm breath sweeps over the fragile shoulders, carrying familiar scents that soothe the lingering stresses of birth. This multi-sensory encouragement, blending auditory rhythms with the comforting pressure of her physical presence, acts as a catalyst for motor drive. The low hums trigger a hormonal response, easing tension in the young animal's muscles while sharpening its focus. Responding instinctively to the maternal frequency, the cria lifts its head higher, tilting its ears forward to capture every nuance of the sound. The vocalizations seem to map a safe pathway upward, steadying the wobbly framework of bone and sinew. Wrapped in this auditory safety net, the cria gathers its scattered energy, anchoring its growing confidence entirely in the presence of the patient female waiting just inches away. With a sudden, determined push from its hindquarters, the cria hoists its body upward, testing the limits of gravity on these high mountain slopes. For the very first time, all four legs lock into a vertical alignment, though the posture is far from stable. Its remarkably long, slender limbs tremble under the unexpected weight, operating independently rather than in synchronized harmony. The knee joints shake, and the slender ankles buckle slightly, requiring continuous micro-adjustments in the central nervous system to prevent a clumsy tumble backward onto the low-lying cushion plants. Biomechanically, standing is an immense challenge for a newborn quadruped whose muscles have never before resisted Earth's full pull. Every ligament works overtime. The right front leg slips sideways on a patch of loose volcanic gravel, threatening to fold. But a quick, reflexive shift in the shoulder muscles saves the stance. The cria's spine arches gently, balancing the weight of a damp, heavy head against a short tail. It is a delicate sculpture of bone and tendon striving for equilibrium. The mother remains close, her soft humming pitch shifting just a fraction to acknowledge this wobbly triumph. Surrounded by the rustling tussock grass and the gentle morning wind, the young animal stays frozen in place, afraid to breathe too deeply lest the fragile balance be lost. Every muscle fiber hums with intense concentration. Slowly, the trembling begins to subside as the brain maps the spatial coordinates of the rocky pasture, learning the subtle art of stillness. Beneath the slender ankles that now support the newborn's weight lies a marvel of alpine engineering. Unlike the hard, unyielding hooves of deer or horses that might slip and fracture on steep, loose slopes, the camelid foot is uniquely adapted to high-altitude terrain. As the camera pans down to the volcanic gravel, the remarkable architecture of the young animal's feet comes into clear focus. Each foot is split into two distinct toes, equipped not with rigid horns, but with strong, gently curved toenails that act as natural crampons. These nails grip the surface earth, catching on tiny ridges of stone to prevent sliding. Yet the true secret to this secure footing rests hidden underneath. Protected by a leathery, resilient sole is a thick, fatty digital cushion. This specialized pad compresses softly against every uneven stone and jagged pebble, molding to the contours of the earth like a custom-fit glove. This dual-system biomechanic allows the foot to splay naturally under the animal's weight, vastly increasing surface area and distributing pressure evenly across fragile mountain soils. Where a traditional hoof would carve deep paths of erosion and risk a dangerous slip, the soft padded foot moves with quiet grace, leaving minimal impact on the delicate cushion plants below. As the gentle morning wind brushes past, the cria shifts its weight slightly from one foot to the other. The organic pads absorb the micro-impacts of the rocky pasture effortlessly, insulating the delicate joints above from sudden shocks. It is a brilliant evolutionary design honed over millennia, giving the newborn the traction and stability it needs to traverse the roof of the world in absolute comfort. With its balance secured and its remarkable feet now resting firmly upon the volcanic earth, the newborn cria prepares for its very first journey across the plateau. The adult female turns slowly, taking deliberate paces toward a slightly more sheltered hollow among the tussock grass, emitting a low, rhythmic hum that guides the young one forward. Responding to the maternal signal, the cria gathers its slender limbs and takes a remarkably stiff, uncoordinated pace. The movement is hesitant, a delicate balancing act of long legs and sleepy joints. Each step requires an immense concentration of developing motor skills, firing vital neural pathways in the young brain that will govern all future movement. As the cria navigates the uneven terrain, the soft padded soles of its feet compress quietly against the gravel, leaving barely a whisper of disturbance behind. It follows closely in the gentle wake of its mother, stepping carefully around the sprawling green cushions of alpine flora. Though the paces are awkward and brief, every forward motion builds essential strength and coordination, preparing the small body for the vast migrations and long days ahead. The morning sun climbs higher into the pale blue sky, bathing the rocky pasture in a warm, amber glow. Stopping for a brief moment to catch its breath, the cria rests its weight evenly on all four legs, swaying gently with fatigue. The sweet, rhythmic hum of the mother continues to wash over the quiet air, offering reassurance and safety as the young animal begins to feel the first subtle tugs of hunger, quietly looking toward the source of warmth and nourishment that will sustain its growing life on the roof of the world. High upon the sweeping expanse of the high Altiplano, the spring afternoon transitions into a quiet, golden hush. Within a sheltered plateau basin, protected from the brisk mountain gales by ancient volcanic stone, the low sun casts a long, amber radiance across the landscape. The atmosphere shifts from the bright, crisp daylight of midday to a soft, enveloping warmth, painting the dry bunch grass and low-lying mountain shrubs in shades of bronze and copper. A gentle wind sweeps and whispers through the vegetation, carrying the faint, earthy scent of damp soil and sun-warmed stone. Amidst this tranquil setting, the maternal female stands near her newborn cria, offering a low, rhythmic humming sound, a soothing vibration that resonates gently through the thin, crisp air. This intimate vocalization provides a steady anchor of security for the young camelid, whose physiological systems are primed for survival in this demanding, oxygen-scarce ecosystem. Stirring from its initial resting place on the sun-baked earth, the newborn cria blinks against the horizontal rays of light. It feels the residual warmth radiating from the ground beneath its small frame and senses the protective, towering silhouette of its mother close by. The subtle fluttering of high-altitude air brushes across its damp, woolly coat. Yet the ambient chill is rapidly being replaced by the advancing warmth of the late afternoon. Stretching its slender legs, the young animal prepares to rise, driven by ancient instincts honed over millennia of evolutionary adaptation to the harsh Andean heights. Nearby, the distant crunch of gravel under resting hooves marks the gentle movements of the wider herd, peacefully grazing as the shadows lengthen and the peaceful evening approaches. Low and resonant, the mother's vocalizations serve as a profound acoustic beacon across the vast, open plateau. This specialized humming, produced with a closed mouth and driven by steady diaphragmatic contractions, sends subtle low-frequency vibrations through the dry mountain air. In the vast silence of the high-altitude basin, Sound travels with remarkable clarity, enveloping the newborn in an acoustic blanket of absolute security. This maternal communication stimulates the release of oxytocin, deepening the neurological bond between parent and offspring and priming the cria's developing nervous system to respond with calm trust. Responding to these rhythmic auditory cues, the mother shifts her posture with deliberate, tender care. She lowers her long-necked frame toward the sun-warmed earth, folding her slender legs beneath her substantial body to adopt a comfortable sternal recumbency. This deliberate change in height creates an accessible, sheltered channel along her warm flank, effectively inviting the young camelid closer. By lowering herself, she bridges the physical gap between them, turning her own anatomy into a protective lean-to that shields the infant from the lingering mountain drafts. The cria turns toward the source of the resonant hum, guided by an intricate interplay of sound, scent, and shadow. Every low vibration acts as an invisible tether, gently pulling the wobbly infant step by step nearer to the maternal source. Within the thin, crisp atmosphere, this intimate exchange represents an ancient evolutionary choreography, ensuring that the vulnerable newborn remains safely within arm's reach of vital nourishment. Guided by instinct, the wobbly newborn reaches the mother's soft underside. Its velvety muzzle noses along the dense fleece, exploring the warm contours of the maternal flank with rhythmic, persistent taps. This gentle nudging acts as a tactile stimulus, encouraging the mother to subtly adjust her weight and offer full access to her nursing teats. The infant's lips clasp firmly around the teat, and the first swallows begin. This initial nursing session delivers colostrum, a specialized, nutrient-dense fluid unlike ordinary milk, packed with immunoglobulins and maternal antibodies. This golden secretion provides passive immunity to the vulnerable newborn, fortifying its naive immune system against the microbial challenges of the high-altitude ecosystem. Because the neonatal ungulate barrier is impermeable to large antibodies in utero, this immediate postnatal ingestion is the exclusive pathway for vital disease protection. Rich in concentrated proteins, essential vitamins, and easily digestible sugars, the colostrum triggers an immediate surge of metabolic energy through the cria's slender frame. As the rich fluid enters the multi-chambered stomach, specialized digestive enzymes begin processing the heavy nutrient load, designed specifically for rapid absorption in an environment where every calorie counts toward thermal regulation. The steady rhythm of swallowing creates a quiet, grounding cadence against the open plateau, wrapping the fragile newcomer in a sustaining wave of internal warmth and quiet biological triumph. Beyond those crucial first drops of protective colostrum, the mother's milk transitions into a remarkably concentrated formula, finely tuned by evolutionary pressure for survival in the thin, unforgiving air of the Altiplano. Camelid milk is exceptionally rich, boasting significantly higher dry matter, protein, and fat concentrations than the milk of many lowland ungulates. This high-density nourishment is not merely for steady growth. It is an immediate, high-octane fuel required for metabolic stability and rapid thermal regulation in an environment where temperatures can plummet the moment the golden sun dips low. Within the maternal glands, specialized biosynthesis produces globulin proteins and essential fatty acids that support cellular repair and neurological development. The lipid profile is uniquely adapted to provide sustained energy, helping the newborn maintain its core body temperature against the biting mountain chill. Because oxygen levels are sparse at these altitudes, every breath demands metabolic efficiency. The sugars and easily accessible fats in the milk are swiftly metabolized, coursing through the infant's circulatory system to stoke an internal hearth of restorative warmth. As the gentle hum of the mother vibrates through the afternoon air, this specialized nourishment quietly transforms the delicate physiology of the resting cria. Its slender limbs relax against the sun-warmed earth, heavy with the deep, restorative satisfaction of a biological design perfected over millennia. With a full stomach, the cria undergoes a noticeable internal stabilization. Deep within the delicate walls of its immature digestive system, the rich milk begins its transformative journey, breaking down into vital glucose and amino acids without delay. The infant's autonomic nervous system shifts gears, easing away from the frantic survival adrenaline of birth toward a state of calm physiological equilibrium. As digestion gently commences, a welcome wave of metabolic heat radiates outward from the core. The cria's breathing deepens and regulates, falling into a slow, rhythmic cadence that matches the tranquil pulse of the high plateau. In the cooling air, its damp wool coat fluffs slightly, trapping a microscopic layer of insulating warmth against the skin to fend off the gathering mountain breeze. Energy levels, once flickering and fragile, steady into a deep, comforting hum of vitality. The tiny heart beats with a calm, sure strength, efficiently pumping oxygenated blood through a circulatory system finely tuned for the thin atmosphere. Every cellular pathway is now gently supported by the rich harvest of maternal nourishment, easing the young camelid into a profound state of rest. Its eyelids grow heavy, and the slender limbs fold inward, resting securely against the warm earth as the golden afternoon drifts quietly toward evening. Satiated and secure, the newborn curls its slender legs beneath its small body in sternal recumbency, melting right against the broad, warm curve of the mother's flank. This natural resting posture, unique to camelids, keeps the vital core protected while allowing the animal to remain alert, yet deeply relaxed. The mother acknowledges this close proximity with a low, rhythmic hum, a tactile vibration that resonates through the dry earth and wraps around her offspring like an acoustic blanket. Around them, the other members of the high-altitude herd begin to settle into the growing shadows. The distant crunch of gravel under resting hooves signals the elders lying down, their heavy bodies folding gracefully into the basin's protective bowl. The soft wind sweeping through the low bunch grass carries a crispness now, as the glorious golden light of the late afternoon begins to shift into deeper amber and violet shades. High above, the subtle fluttering of high-altitude mountain air whispers across the ridgetops, perennial messengers of the approaching alpine dusk. Yet down within this sheltered hollow, the atmosphere is profoundly still. The low rustle of dry mountain shrubs fades as the air cools, stabilizing the thermal layers near the ground. Resting peacefully, the cria's chest rises and falls in absolute synchrony with the tranquil pulse of the Altiplano. Every breath draws in the crisp, star-bound promise of the coming night, safely insulated by both the wool coat and the unwavering presence of the maternal herd. The late afternoon sun begins its slow, deliberate descent behind the jagged western volcanic ridge of the high Altiplano. Across the expansive Andean valley, the golden daylight surrenders, painting the ancient volcanic peaks in rich, quiet shades of amber, deep gold, and soft rose. This rapid shift in the solar angle marks the beginning of dusk on the Puna, triggering an immediate transformation in both the landscape and the behavior of its inhabitants. As the light softens, the warm thermal currents of the day fade away, replaced by a gentle, cooling draft that whispers through the stiff blades of bunchgrass. The ambient soundscape shifts subtly. Distant calls of Andean geese fade into the gathering quiet, accompanied only by the soft rustling of tussock grass swaying in the evening breeze and the occasional crunch of quiet gravel shifting under heavy hooves. The vast, high-altitude plateau, stretching for miles beneath a widening dome of pale lavender sky, adopts a profound and serene evening stillness. In this thin, crisp air, where heat radiates rapidly back into the cloudless atmosphere once the sun dips low, the environment prepares for a dramatic nocturnal drop in temperature. For the wildlife inhabiting this austere realm, twilight is a critical juncture. The lengthening shadows stretch long and dark across the valley floor, blanketing the hollows in cool shadow. It is within this serene, fading light that the daily rhythms of the high-altitude ecosystem gently slow, guiding the resting herd toward the tranquil safety of the approaching night. Sensing the rapid drop in temperature, the adult female pauses her slow grazing and turns her attention fully toward her newborn cria. With deliberate, gentle movements, she guides the fragile young animal away from the exposed ridge and down into a shallow, natural depression in the volcanic soil. This gentle hollow is neatly ringed by low-growing cushion plants and weathered fragments of dark basalt, forming a vital microhabitat that breaks the force of the rising evening wind. As they settle into the earth, the mother positions her large body directly to windward, acting as a living thermal shield against the chilly drafts sweeping down from the high snowfields. Her dense fleece, evolved over millennia to endure extreme thermal shifts, traps a warm layer of air beside her skin. Leaning close, she begins to emit a series of soft, rhythmic maternal hums, low-frequency vibrations that resonate gently through the crisp air, reassuring the newborn and strengthening their profound bond. The infant, its slender legs still slightly wobbly from its first day of life, responds instantly to the comforting sound. It nestles closely against its mother's warm flank, safely sheltered within the embrace of the earth and the watchful presence of the maternal embrace, ready to transition from the fading light into the quiet safety of the gathering dusk. Within the protected curve of the basalt hollow, the newborn cria prepares for its nightly rest. Slowly, the little camelid lowers its slender body toward the earth, executing a sequence of precise, fluid movements unique to its kind. First, the delicate front knees bend softly, settling gently into the sandy soil, followed by the hindquarters folding smoothly underneath. It adopts sternal recumbency, drawing its long legs neatly beneath its warm torso. This specialized posture is an evolutionary masterpiece of the high Andes. By tucking its limbs closely against its chest and abdomen, the infant minimizes its exposed surface area, drastically reducing radiant heat loss to the frigid mountain air. Unlike other ungulates that lie flat on their sides, the upright, balanced sternal position keeps the body's center of gravity secure, allowing the young animal to rise in a single, explosive bound should danger approach from the shadows. As the cria settles into the contours of the ground, a soft sigh escapes its tiny muzzle. Its head rests comfortably upon the earth, eyelids growing heavy as the amber twilight deepens around them. The gentle rustling of tussock grass outside the hollow whispers against the stillness, while the mother continues her low, rhythmic humming, a steady lullaby vibrating through the ground beneath them. Protected by anatomy and instinct, the infant's breathing slows in sync with the quiet rhythms of the Puna. The rapid pulse of its first day of life softens into a calm, restorative cadence, preparing its growing muscles and developing bones for the long, starry night ahead. Safe within the cradle of the Altiplano, the fragile newborn drifts into deep, peaceful slumber. With the cria safely positioned, the adult female lowers her own large frame directly beside her offspring, completing a vital biological partnership. She rests her heavy body flush against the infant's flank, creating an effective, living windbreak that shields the fragile youngster from the biting drafts descending from the volcanic peaks. This intimate proximity harnesses radiant body heat. Camelid fiber is an exceptional natural insulator, composed of fine, hollow medulla fibers that trap still air to create a thermal barrier against the cold. As the ambient temperature plummets with the fading light, the cria's newborn coat fluffs slightly, expanding its microscopic air pockets to maximize heat retention. The mother's dense fleece merges with that of her offspring, forming a shared microclimate of profound warmth in the high-altitude chill. A gentle maternal humming resonates through her chest, a low-frequency vibration that reassures and steadies the resting infant. This tactile and auditory connection reinforces the powerful maternal bond, calming the Kriya's nervous system as the shadows lengthen. Resting together, sheltered from the elements, they share the heavy burden of nighttime survival on the Altiplano, wrapped in quiet comfort as the stars begin to bloom across the vast, darkening sky. Across the rolling expanse of the high-altitude pasture, the broader family group mirrors this quiet descent into stillness. One by one, the other adult llamas and older juveniles settle into their own positions of sternal recumbency, sinking gracefully onto folded knees. They do not cluster in a dense, chaotic huddle. Instead, they arrange themselves deliberately across the basin, forming a loose, watchful crescent around the newborn and its mother. This collective spacing is a sophisticated behavioral adaptation for survival. By facing outward toward different points of the compass, some gazing up the volcanic slopes, others monitoring the valley floor below, the herd maintains a seamless, 360-degree perimeter of environmental awareness. Even in repose, their large, mobile ears continue to twitch and pivot independently, catching the faintest whispers of the landscape. As twilight deepens across the plateau, turning the golden bunchgrass into shadowy silver, this vigilant geometry provides unspoken security. Should a mountain cat or roaming fox stir in the distance, the first animal to detect the sound or scent will alert the group with a sharp, explosive alarm call. But for now, the prevailing mood is one of profound tranquility. The silent sentinels rest their weight comfortably upon their chests, their rhythmic breathing blending into a synchronized chorus of peace. Under the vast, darkening canopy of the Andean night, the resting herd acts as a single, harmonious organism, wrapping its most vulnerable members in a protective embrace of shared awareness and quiet slumber. The landscape hushes as daylight completely surrenders to the deep violet hues of dusk. High above the jagged volcanic skyline, the first bright stars of the southern hemisphere begin to puncture the indigo expanse, glittering like scattered diamonds against the velvet void. In this thin, freezing air, the temperature drops precipitously as the Earth radiates its day's warmth back into space. Yet within the heart of the resting herd, the newborn rests securely, insulated from the bite of the mountain chill. Its slender legs remain tucked neatly beneath its torso in sternal recumbency, preserving core heat through the compact geometry of its body. Its gentle, even breathing rises and falls in quiet synchronization with the mother standing guard beside it. A low, rhythmic maternal hum vibrates softly in the mother's throat, a deep, resonant sound that wraps the Kriya in a comforting blanket of acoustic reassurance. The surrounding sentinels remain motionless, their dark silhouettes merging seamlessly with the sleeping earth, guarding the silent plateau as night takes full possession of the Altiplano. High upon the Altiplano, the fiery amber embers clinging to the jagged western peaks dissolve into a deep, velvety indigo. Twilight surrenders to the vast empire of the night, bringing a sudden, profound shift to the high Andean plateau. As the sun dips far below the horizon, the thin atmosphere loses its meager daytime warmth. Without a thick blanket of cloud cover to trap the terrestrial radiation, thermal energy bleeds rapidly away into the freezing vacuum of space, causing the ambient temperature to plummet with astonishing speed. This dramatic radiative cooling sweeps across the high-altitude plains, turning the breathable air crisp and sharp. Yet, as the midnight chill deepens, the fierce daytime gales that whip across the Puna begin to fade. The sweeping winds soften into a gentle, continuous breeze that whispers smoothly over the dormant tussock grass, creating a soothing, rhythmic rustle across the landscape. Above this silent wilderness, the sky opens into an infinite, crystal-clear vault, Millions of ancient stars ignite in the high-altitude darkness, piercing the thin air with a brilliant, steady luminescence undisturbed by atmospheric distortion. The Southern Cross tilts gracefully overhead, casting a silvery, ethereal glow across the sleeping earth. The world contracts into shades of silver, shadow, and deep charcoal. In this tranquil expanse, the bitter cold is met not by frantic motion, but by the quiet, unhurried preparation of the herd, settling safely into the peaceful embrace of the mountain night. Across the Starlit Plateau, the adult female llama shifts her weight and begins the ancient, methodical descent into sleep. She lowers her forequarters first, bending her delicate wrists with careful grace before folding her slender limbs neatly beneath her heavy wool coat. With a gentle sigh, she settles her massive body weight directly onto her sternum, resting her entire frame upon specialized, thick patches of skin known as sternal calluses. These natural cushions bear the burden of her mass, protecting her chest while anchoring her securely to the cool earth. Beside her, the newborn cria watches with heavy, drooping eyelids, intently observing the intricate mechanics of the posture. Eager to mimic the maternal form, the little one tucks its knobby legs inward, settling its tiny chest flat against the ground in a mirror image of the mother. This stable configuration, known as sternal recumbency, is an architectural marvel of the camelid world. By resting on the breastbone rather than sprawling flat upon their sides, these high-altitude ruminants keep their center of gravity low and perfectly balanced. This energy-conserving posture does more than simply preserve warmth. It leaves the powerful leg muscles primed for an instant, explosive spring should a shadow move across the plains. Yet, under the quiet brilliance of the southern constellations, no alarm sounds. The adult female extends her long neck forward, balancing her head in serene repose, while the tiny cria rests safely against her warm flank, enveloped in a profound stillness that eases them deeper into the gentle embrace of the night. Pressing close against the maternal flank, the newborn cria finds its refuge from the sharpening midnight chill. The mother's fleece, dense with lanolin and tightly crimped, acts as an extraordinary thermal shield against the plunging ambient temperatures of the high-altitude spring. As the little one nestles deeper into this soft fortress, heat transfers steadily from the mother's massive body to the fragile, newly formed frame of her offspring. This physiological sanctuary stabilizes the cria's core temperature, sparing its small body from expending vital metabolic energy on shivering during these critical early hours of life. The rhythmic, low-frequency sound of the adult's breathing washes over the resting infant like a gentle tide. With every slow inflation and deflation of the mother's chest, a steady, hypnotic cadence fills the quiet air. In the stillness, the cria synchronizes its own respiration, breathing in time with the ancient rhythm of the herd. This shared pulse reinforces the profound maternal bond forged just hours before on the windswept slopes. Enveloped in absolute safety, the newborn's eyelids grow impossibly heavy. Its long lashes flutter once or twice before resting completely against soft cheeks. The small head nods, slowly coming to rest upon the cool earth. In this sanctuary of warm wool and starlit silence, the infant drifts away into its very first deep slumber, cradled by the timeless peace of the Altiplano. High above the resting plateau, the thin atmosphere of the Altiplano yields to a night sky of astonishing diamond-sharp clarity. Freed from the filtering veil of lower altitudes, the stars do not merely twinkle, they burn with a steady, luminous intensity against the velvet void of space. Stretching like a river of crushed pearls from horizon to horizon, the glowing arm of the Milky Way arches magnificently over the jagged, silent peaks of the Andes. Low in the southern heavens, the four distinct beacons of the Southern Cross stand sentinel, guiding the silent expanse of the high-altitude world with timeless grace. This celestial canopy casts a faint, silvery luminescence across the plateau, washing the sleeping herd in a cool, ethereal light. Around the perimeter of the resting formation, adult camelids remain attuned to the vastness above and the shadows below. Even in deep repose, their long ears twitch subtly, pivoting to catch the softest whisper of the midnight breeze or the distant rustle of tussock grass. This low-level sensory vigilance ensures the safety of the sleeping family without disrupting the profound tranquility of the night. In this theater of infinite space and earthbound quiet, the herd embodies a perfect balance of vulnerability and enduring strength. Under the steady watch of the constellations, the mountains hold their breath, cradling the plateau in a stillness that has endured for millennia. The newborn rests deeply within this sanctuary, wrapped in the warmth of maternal wool and the quiet majesty of the starlit universe. Collective awareness never truly sleeps on the high-altitude plateau. Though every adult camelid is settled into deep sternal recumbency, their nervous systems remain softly tuned to the nocturnal environment. This state of shared vigilance relies on subtle, involuntary cues rather than full wakefulness. Throughout the freezing hours, an adult near the perimeter will periodically lift its slender neck, casting a slow gaze across the dark horizon before lowering its head once more. Even with closed eyes, these sentinel animals process sensory information continuously. Their mobile ears rotate independently, tracking the faint, wandering currents of the crisp night wind and filtering out the familiar rustle of tussock grass from unfamiliar sounds. This low-level vigilance is an evolutionary adaptation essential for survival in an open landscape devoid of natural cover. By distributing the responsibility of watching over the group, no single individual carries the burden of total alertness. Inside this protective, living ring, the resting mother shares in the communal calm. Her breathing remains deep and rhythmic, yet a faint tremor in her ear reveals she is receiving the ambient updates rippling through the herd. This decentralized watchfulness creates a profound psychological sanctuary for the newborn cria nestled at her side. Surrounded by the gentle shifts, soft murmurs, and steady, reassuring heartbeats of its kin, the young animal experiences the purest form of security. Under the vast, diamond-studded expanse of the southern sky, the herd rests as a single organism, breathing in unison with the quiet, ancient pulse of the Altiplano. As the midnight hours stretch toward the dawn of a new season, the steady, harmonious rhythm of respiration defines the resting herd. In the thin, freezing air of the Altiplano, every exhalation rises as a soft plume of mist, dissolving quickly into the crisp night wind. This synchronized pattern of breathing is a masterclass in physiological efficiency, conserving vital warmth within the core of each animal. The gentle rustle of tussock grass bending beneath the breeze blends seamlessly with the low, repetitive hums of mothers reassuring their young, creating an acoustic sanctuary across the vast plateau. Having navigated its very first full day under the brilliant canopy of the Southern Cross, the newborn cria rests in absolute peace. Its tiny frame rises and falls in gentle cadence with its mother's flank, absorbing not only her physical warmth but also the slow, restorative tempo of the highlands. This deep, regenerative sleep is essential for the rapid skeletal and muscular development that must occur before the warmer months arrive. The harsh spring frosts will soon yield to the gentler days of summer, bringing rich new growth to the ancient valleys below. But for tonight, the Altiplano remains suspended in a timeless quiet. Safe within the protective circle of its kin, cradled by the earth and watched over by the stars, the young camelid slumbers peacefully. It is fully anchored in the rhythm of the herd, quietly gathering strength for the long, bright journey of life awaiting it upon the roof of the world. High upon the roof of the world, where the thin air carries the crisp chill of the retreating night, summer breathes new life into the ancient Andean plateau. Dawn arrives not with a sudden rush, but as a slow, golden unfurling across the high-altitude wetlands known as bofedales. Fed by the steady, invisible trickle of distant glacial meltwater, these spongy peat bogs transform the arid mountain slopes into vast, emerald green sanctuaries. Amidst this lush expanse of cushion plants and rich, moisture-laden turf, the herd rests in quiet harmony. The young llama awakens beside its mother in the cool, invigorating air. Its limbs, growing stronger with each passing week, are tucked neatly beneath its warm fleece. As the first pale rays of morning sunlight crest the jagged peaks, they strike the shallow, mirror-like pools scattered throughout the wetland, painting the water in soft hues of rose and amber. The bofedal is a marvel of high-altitude ecological adaptation. Beneath the surface are complex root systems locked together to create a spongy foundation that filters water and stores vital nutrients. This resilient ecosystem thrives under extreme diurnal temperature shifts, providing a reliable oasis for specialized flora and fauna. A soft breeze whispers across the damp grasses, carrying the melodic, high-pitched calls of marsh birds welcoming the new day. The young llama blinks sleepily, its long, dark lashes catching the morning light. It stretches its neck upward, taking in the expansive horizon now visible in the clear dawn. Its mother stands guard nearby, her gentle silhouette a familiar anchor in the vast landscape. The air is filled with the low, resonant humming notes of the herd, a soothing vibration that resonates through the damp earth, signaling the beginning of another peaceful, sun-warmed summer day in the high Andes. Guided by an internal rhythm of growing confidence, the young llama shifts its weight and rises from the damp turf. No longer bound to the immediate shelter of the maternal flank, it turns its gaze outward. The anatomy of the juvenile has begun its remarkable summer transformation. Stronger leg bones and denser muscle mass now support a taller, more balanced frame. With deliberate grace, the animal lifts a delicate foot, testing the spongy ground beneath. These feet are marvels of evolutionary design. Unlike the hard hooves of lowland ungulates, the llama possesses a unique two-toed foot featuring tough, leathery foot pads on the underside and curved nails above. These specialized pads act as natural shock absorbers, distributing the animal's weight evenly across the fragile, waterlogged peat of the bofedal without sinking or disrupting the delicate root systems of the cushion plants. The young llama takes 3 tentative steps away from its mother, the distance between them stretching from a breath to a full body length. It dips its long, graceful neck, allowing the cervical vertebrae, lengthening with every month of maturity, to arch downward. It inhales the rich, earthy scent of decomposing organic matter and fresh growth, its internal compass guiding its expanding world. The mother does not call out or follow. She merely turns her head just enough to keep her offspring within her soft, dark field of vision, offering quiet, enduring trust as the young explorer continues its journey across the green expanse. A short distance away, another young member of the herd lifts its head from a cluster of sweet grasses. A silent, instinctive understanding passes between the two juveniles. Suddenly, the quiet morning air is broken by an irresistible burst of energy. The young llama kicks its hind legs outward, launching into a playful bound that sends sparkling droplets of dew flying from the cushion plants. Such explosive movements are far from aimless. This high-energy play is a vital developmental rehearsal for the growing juvenile. As the young camelids leap, twist, and pivot across the spongy turf, their rapidly growing skeletal and muscular systems undergo essential conditioning. Their developing nervous systems fine-tune the precise motor skills needed to navigate the treacherous, uneven terrain of the high Andes. They draw closer, circling one another with lowered heads and curious ears flicking forward. Playful sparring begins as their long necks press together in gentle, rhythmic wrestling. They lean their weight against each other, testing balance and strength without malice. This ritualized neck wrestling establishes the earliest foundations of the herd's social hierarchy. Through these harmless scuffles, the youngsters learn the subtle language of camelid communication, interpreting posture, ear position, and soft, low humming notes that signal boundaries and camaraderie. Breathing deeply from the exertion, the young llama pauses, its chest rising and falling beneath its thickening summer fleece. The playful tension melts away as quickly as it arose, replaced once more by the tranquil stillness of the waking wetland. Side by side, the young companions lower their muzzles back to the green turf, their wild energy successfully channeled into the quiet grace of growing up, leaving its companion behind. The young llama lets soft curiosity guide its steps toward the damp, water-scented edge of the marsh. The terrain shifts beneath its soft padded feet, transitioning from firm meadow turf to the spongy, yielding give of the vibrant boffiddle. This high-altitude wetland functions as a living sponge, sustained by glacial meltwaters that filter down through ancient volcanic rock. Reaching a dense thicket of tall aquatic reeds and low-lying cushion vegetation, the juvenile lowers its long, mobile upper lip. The split-lip anatomy of the camelid is a marvel of evolutionary design, perfectly adapted for selecting and grasping tender shoots while avoiding woody stems and thorns. The young animal tests the texture of a vibrant green marsh plant, its sensitive whiskers brushing against the cool, wet leaves. It inhales deeply, drawing in the rich, earthy aromas of decomposing peat and fresh summer growth. Every breath expands its sensory awareness of the high-altitude ecosystem. Beneath the mud, countless microscopic organisms are beginning their daily cycle of nutrient turnover, releasing faint, mineral-rich scents into the morning air. The juvenile nibbles experimentally, savoring the cool, moisture-laden vegetation. Each bite delivers vital hydration and essential minerals absorbed from the mineral-rich volcanic soil, fueling its steady, healthy growth. Farther out in the marsh, a flock of Andean geese calls out with soft, musical honks, their voices echoing gently across the still water. The young llama pauses its exploration, its large, dark eyes reflecting the brightening sky as it listens to the familiar sounds of its home. Satisfied with its solitary discovery, it slowly turns its head back toward the reassuring presence of the grazing herd. Not far from the marshy edge, the mature members of the herd graze with a serene, unhurried rhythm. Their steady jaws move in rhythmic, side-to-side motions, grinding down the lush summer grasses that flourish across the high plateau. These experienced adults form a protective, living perimeter around the resting and playing youngsters. Though they appear entirely relaxed under the morning sun, their long necks periodically lift, and large ears swivel independently to catch every whisper of the wind across the open Puna. This vigilance is a vital social adaptation of the herd, ensuring safety from distant predators while the new generation builds confidence in its surroundings. Soft, low-humming vocalizations pass continuously between the grazing mothers and their growing offspring. These gentle, resonant notes create a comforting acoustic web that stretches across the damp turf, anchoring the curious juveniles to the collective security of the family group. Every member of the social hierarchy plays a quiet, reassuring role in maintaining this peace. An older female shifts her weight, her soft padded feet sinking only slightly into the resilient cushion plants as she steps closer to a younger animal, silently offering a reassuring presence. The air carries the tranquil warmth of the rising sun, blending with the steady, reassuring breath of the resting adults. Surrounded by this watchful circle, the young llama feels entirely secure, resting its weight comfortably upon the emerald earth as the gentle morning unfolds into a quiet, sunlit expanse. As the golden morning advances, casting a warmer, more golden light across the sprawling bofidales, the high energy bounding of the juveniles gradually subsides into a quiet, restorative stillness. The young llama settles beside its mother upon the resilient cushion plants, its chest rising and falling in a slow, peaceful rhythm, The earlier flurry of play yields to a state of gentle observation, turning the youngster's curious gaze toward the mature members of the herd. With wide, dark eyes, the juvenile watches closely as an experienced female selects specific marsh plants from the emerald mosaic. The anatomy of the adult's specialized three-chambered stomach allows for the efficient breakdown of tough, high-fiber mountain grasses, a complex digestive process that the young llama will soon begin to master through imitation. Every deliberate bite and steady, side-to-side chewing motion is absorbed by the watchful youngster, laying the foundational lessons of ruminant nutrition. Nearby, a low, resonant hum vibrates softly in the air, a maternal reassurance that bridges the gap between active exploration and restful learning. The distant trickle of glacial meltwater weaves beneath the calling of marsh birds, blending into a steady, hypnotic lullaby across the damp turf. Bathed in the rising heat of the Andean sun, the juvenile lets its heavy eyelids drift half-closed, perfectly content to simply watch, listen, and grow beneath the watchful shelter of the family group. A golden dawn slowly spills over the high Andean basin, warming the damp earth and awakening a vibrant tapestry of summer green. Gentle winds brush across the valley floor, carrying the clean, sweet scent of crushed herbs and damp soil. High above, a solitary hawk circles lazily in the expanding blue sky, while distant songbirds trill soft, melodious notes through the crisp mountain air. Here, in this sheltered, nutrient-rich meadowland, the herd of llamas has gathered. The mature animals move with a calm, rhythmic grace among the sea of emerald and ochre vegetation. Among them stands the growing juvenile, bathed in the soft, horizontal light of morning. For months, the young camelid has relied entirely on rich maternal milk, but today, a quiet shift is stirring within. The sweet, milky warmth of nursing is beginning to share space with a new, instinctive curiosity about the living world beneath its padded feet. With large, dark eyes, the juvenile watches an older female select specific tufts of vegetation, noting the deliberate, sweeping motion of her head. The lush meadow teems with native bunch grasses, their slender blades swaying in harmony with the morning breeze. A low, contented humming sound ripples through the herd as the adults graze, a soothing vibration that resonates through the quiet pasture. The young llama takes a hesitant step forward, lowering its velvety muzzle toward the rich turf. The vibrant summer grasses beckon, offering a taste of independence and the first true connection to the wild, rugged highlands that will forever be its home. Close beside the young llama, the matriarch pauses in her foraging, offering a masterclass in high-altitude survival. The secret to her precise harvest lies just beneath her velvety nostrils. Unlike the blunt muzzles of sheep or cattle, the adult's mouth is framed by a remarkable anatomical adaptation. A deeply cleft upper lip split neatly down the center into two independently mobile lobes. The juvenile tilts its head, watching closely as the older female navigates a dense clump of tough, weathered bunchgrass. Each lobe of her upper lip operates with delicate, finger-like dexterity, parting the prickly, defensive outer stems and coarse seed heads with practiced ease. Beneath this flexible exterior rests a hard, horny dental pad on the upper jaw, perfectly designed to work in tandem with the lower incisors to nip vegetation cleanly without ripping roots from the fragile, sun-warmed soil. Sensitive, tactile hairs lining the split lip sweep across the turf, instantly sorting tender, nutrient-dense green shoots from stiff, unpalatable fibers. It is a masterclass in selective browsing, honed by millennia of evolutionary pressure in the austere Andes. The adult selects only the most succulent parts of the native herbs, her jaws moving in a rhythmic, side-to-side motion that crushes the cellulose walls of the fresh summer growth. Imitating this quiet wisdom, the juvenile dips its own soft muzzle toward the earth. It flutters its upper lip, testing the tactile sensitivity of the split skin against a patch of sweet meadow grass, practicing the gentle art of selection that will sustain its life in the mountains. Encouraged by the quiet rhythm of the herd, the young camelid reaches forward to test its own budding instincts. It extends its velvety nose toward a low-lying clump of native ichu grass, its delicate upper lip trembling with curiosity. Following the template set by the elders, the juvenile attempts to mirror the side-to-side positioning, pressing its tender muzzle against the rough blades. A gentle wind ripples across the meadow, carrying the fresh, earthy scent of crushed green stems and sun-warmed soil. Soft chewing sounds drift from nearby adults, creating a soothing, hypnotic background chorus under the pale blue summer sky. Distant birdsong echoes softly from the rocky slopes above, framing the tranquil morning scene. With a cautious nip of its lower incisors against the hard dental pad, the juvenile grasps a thin, pale green shoot. The texture is vastly different from the rich, comforting milk of its mother. It is fibrous, cool, and surprisingly resistant. The young llama works its jaw, rolling the unfamiliar bundle of cellulose around inside its mouth. It is an entirely new sensory experience, the sharp, grassy tang of mountain herbs mixing with the abundant morning dew. A few coarse fragments cling to its whiskers, eliciting a gentle, huffing breath through its nostrils. This is the very beginning of independence, a slow and patient transition towards solid nourishment. The juvenile pauses for a brief moment, letting the strange flavors settle, before lowering its head to try once more, guided entirely by ancient instinct. Beneath the warm summer sun, the juvenile pauses its grazing, standing very still as internal rhythms begin to shift. The coarse blades of ichu grass and mountain herbs now rest safely within the young camelid's specialized belly. Unlike horses or single-chambered herbivores, the llama possesses an intricate digestive masterpiece, a three-chambered stomach uniquely engineered for survival in these austere, high-altitude realms. Inside the first and second chambers, a bustling world of specialized microbes goes to work. Without oxygen, these microscopic helpers ferment the tough, fibrous plant material, slowly softening the cellulose that would otherwise pass through undigested. It is a biological alchemy of the highest order, turning stubborn mountain grasses into vital, life-giving energy where oxygen is thin and resources are scarce. After a quiet interval of rest, the juvenile experiences a strange and natural sensation. A small portion of the semi-digested plant matter travels smoothly back up the esophagus, returning to the mouth. Following the steady, rhythmic example of the surrounding herd, the young llama begins to rechew. This quiet act of rumination, often called chewing the cud, finally grinds the stubborn fibers even further, maximizing every single drop of precious nutrient extraction. Soft, rhythmic chewing sounds ripple through the peaceful meadow, blending harmoniously with the gentle sigh of the wind through the bunchgrass. With each slow rotation of the jaw, the heavy burden of digestion softens, nourishing the growing frame from within. The juvenile closes its dark, long-lashed eyes for a brief moment, letting the soothing warmth of the morning wash over its resting form, deeply at peace within the rhythm of the herd. Nearby, the mature females settle into the warm earth, folding their long legs beneath their bodies in a synchronized wave of calm. Following their lead, the juvenile lowers its own weight to the meadow floor, tucking its feet neatly beneath its chest. The ground beneath them is soft with moss and resilient turf, radiating the gentle heat of the morning sun. Here, in the quiet sanctuary of the resting herd, the internal work of sustenance continues undisturbed. With every slow, methodical sweep of the lower jaw, the cud is ground between broad molar teeth, releasing the last remaining walls of stubborn plant cells. This secondary chewing mixes the fibrous mass thoroughly with saliva, preparing the nutrient-rich slurry for its final journey into the true digestive chamber. It is an evolutionary masterpiece of efficiency, ensuring that nothing goes to waste in a landscape where every single blade of grass represents hard-won survival. Low, resonant humming notes drift softly through the resting group, a gentle, acoustic murmur of contentment that reassures the young animal of its safety within the family. The juvenile's breathing deepens, matching the slow, pulsing cadence of the breeze rippling across the verdant valley. A distant songbird traces a lazy arc through the crystalline air, its melody dissolving into the vast expanse of the high Andean sky. In this still, suspended moment between grazing and wandering, the growing llama rests completely, its body quietly transforming the meadow's green bounty into strength, resilience, and steady growth. Slowly, the resting animals begin to stir, shifting their weight and unbending their long legs in a graceful, unhurried sequence. The juvenile rises with them, feeling a new and unfamiliar sense of solidity within its growing frame. Its belly is comfortably full, warmed by both the morning sun and the rich, complex energy of its very first true meal of native bunch grasses. Every fiber it has ingested is already being transformed into steady strength, fueling the gradual, profound shift from complete maternal dependence towards self-reliant survival. Around the young camelid, the matriarchs shake their soft fleece and turn their faces upward toward the rising slopes, where the rocky terrain gives way to higher, wind-swept meadows. A low, vibrating hum ripples through the family group once more, signaling that the morning's peaceful pause has gently drawn to a close. With light, sure-footed steps, the herd forms a relaxed, meandering line, ready to ascend the mountain path. The juvenile falls naturally into place just behind its mother, carrying within its small body the ancient wisdom of the high Andes. Its steps are a little firmer now, its senses attuned to the rich scents of earth and sun-warmed herbage that drift along the breeze. As the golden light of late morning bathes the towering peaks in a warm, amber glow, the young llama walks forward into the unfolding day, balanced, nourished, and deeply at peace within the vast mountain cradle. High above the sweeping expanses of the high Andean steppes, the summer sun claims the zenith of the sky. Its brilliant rays radiate an intense, shimmering warmth across the dry plateau, warming the sparse bunchgrass and baking the earth. Resting low in the valley, the heavy air becomes still and thick with heat. Sensing the rising temperatures, the herd stirs from its midday repose. Guided by ancestral memory, the lead female lifts her long neck, turning her gaze toward the cool, cloud-kissed peaks rising sharply against the brilliant blue. With a soft, low hum, she signals the start of the daily migration upward. The herd falls into a steady, single-file procession, stepping onto the ancient, winding trails carved into the mountain flanks over centuries of travel. Every upward stride demands physical effort, engaging muscles that are growing stronger with each passing season. The young juvenile llama follows closely behind its mother, placing its slender feet carefully into the impressions left in the loose earth. With every vertical step, the landscape below shifts, expanding into a vast patchwork of golden straw and weathered stone. The crunch of gravel under soft hooves mingles with the gentle rustle of dry mountain bunchgrass swaying in the nascent thermal breezes. The air begins to thin, carrying the crisp, refreshing promise of higher elevations. For the growing juvenile, this steady climb is a natural lesson in endurance, gently testing developing lungs and limbs against the gravity of the steep slope, moving ever higher into the quiet sanctuary of the mountain's embrace. The trail abruptly narrows, shifting from packed earth to a steep slope blanketed in loose volcanic gravel and scattered, weathered stones. Here, each vertical meter requires precise physical grace. The juvenile pauses for a brief heartbeat, watching the mature female ahead navigate the unstable terrain with effortless composure. Stepping forward onto the cascading scree, The young llama experiences a momentary slip as the gravel gives way beneath a slender hoof. Yet, recovery is swift, rooted in the remarkable engineering of the camelid foot. Unlike the hard, sharp hooves of introduced livestock that scar alpine soils, the juvenile's feet are marvels of specialized locomotion. Two distinct toes rest upon broad, leathery pads that compress and mold to the shifting contours of the rock, spreading the animal's weight evenly across the unstable surface. Curved toenails at the front of each toe act as natural anchors, biting gently into the gravel to prevent sliding without cutting into the delicate, slow-growing mountain vegetation. This unique anatomy provides exceptional proprioception, allowing the nervous system to instantly read the texture of the ground beneath every step. With renewed confidence, the growing animal adjusts its center of gravity, maintaining a steady, rhythmic cadence. The gentle crunch of gravel underfoot becomes a soothing percussion against the quiet backdrop of the high slope. Muscles flex and relax in a harmonious dance of endurance and balance, carrying the juvenile upward across the shifting slope, completely at home among the high crags and stony paths. Higher the trail winds, and thinner the surrounding air grows. The increased exertion quickens the juvenile's pace, lifting both respiration and heart rate as the lungs expand to welcome the cooling mountain breeze. Every breath draws in the crisp atmosphere, yet the young camelid feels no dizzying fatigue, unlike other lowland mammals that struggle in these lofty heights. Hidden deep within the juvenile's bloodstream lies an extraordinary evolutionary shield. Unlike human red blood cells, which are typically round, the llama's microscopic crimson cells possess a unique, elongated oval shape. This specialized elliptical structure, combined with an exceptionally high concentration of hemoglobin, grants the blood an incredible affinity for oxygen. Even when the barometric pressure drops and airborne oxygen molecules scatter thinly across the alpine expanse, these remarkable cells capture and bind every available trace with astonishing efficiency. Nutrient-rich red rivers carry this vital cargo swiftly through the cardiovascular system, nourishing hard-working muscles with unwavering reliability. This invisible internal miracle is a profound genetic legacy, perfected over millennia to let the high-altitude specialists thrive where the sky meets the earth. With every steady inhalation, calm respiration flows inward, matching the serene rhythm of the climb. The juvenile's chest rises and falls in a deep, measured tempo, perfectly synchronized with the quiet majesty of the surrounding peaks. There is no struggle here, only a seamless biological harmony between body and mountain, floating effortlessly on the breath of the high altitudes. Ahead on the steep switchback, the experienced herd matriarch chooses her footing with quiet deliberation. She skirts a jagged outcrop of dark, weathered stone, avoiding the crumbling edges where loose scree threatens to slide. Every step is measured, demonstrating the profound spatial wisdom passed down quietly through generations along these ancient migratory tracks. The juvenile llama watches closely from just a few paces behind, studying the subtle language of survival. It notes the precise angle of the adult's posture, the relaxed tilt of her ears, and the way she conserves momentum by swinging her weight forward with effortless grace. This ongoing social learning is as vital as any physical trait. The collective memory of the herd acts as an invisible map, guiding the young through a labyrinth of stone and shadow. When the leader pauses to test a narrow ledge with a gentle tap of her toe, the juvenile mirrors the movement, learning how to read the stability of the terrain beneath the surface. Two-toed, leathery pads press firmly into the earth, conforming to the contours of jagged pebbles rather than disturbing them. There is no wasted energy, no frantic scrambling, only a tranquil dance of adaptation. Following these generational trails instills a deep, reassuring sense of belonging. The young camelid steps precisely where countless ancestors have walked before, feeling supported by the very history of the mountain. Around them, The dry mountain bunchgrass rustles softly in the rising draft, whispering tales of endurance and safety. Guided by the wisdom of the elders, the small procession continues its upward journey, moving as one harmonious body through the peaceful, sunlit heights. The final, demanding rise yields softly beneath the hooves as the leading edge of the procession crests the summit. Here, upon the narrow spine of the high mountain ridge, a crisp and clean alpine wind sweeps effortlessly across the heights. This sudden rush of cool air offers immediate, soothing relief from the radiant warmth of the afternoon sun. The refreshing breeze ripples gently through the growing, insulating coats of the llamas, carrying away the lingering heat of the arduous climb. Their thick fleece parts slightly, allowing the rushing air to cool their skin and assist the body's natural thermoregulation without shivering. Silhouetted against the vast, unbroken blue of the afternoon sky, the animals stand in quiet majesty. The juvenile llama pauses, lifting its head to welcome the brisk atmospheric draft. Deep breaths fill its expanding lungs, drawing in the thin, oxygen-rich currents now made even more invigorating by the elevation. Its specialized red blood cells, uniquely oval-shaped and carrying hemoglobin with a high affinity for oxygen, work quietly within the bloodstream to nourish every muscle fiber after the exertion of the vertical ascent. All around, the gentle alpine wind sings a low, steady note against the jagged stones. Far below, the steep gravelly slopes recede into a patchwork of quiet valleys and shadowed canyons. The juvenile exhales a slow, warm breath, feeling the tension drain entirely from its tired limbs. Resting upon the windswept ridge, surrounded by the calm presence of the herd, the young camelid simply watches the majestic landscape unfold beneath the calming sky, drifting gradually toward a state of profound, restorative peace. Standing atop the high vantage point of the ridge, the juvenile gazes out over the sweeping expanses of the Altiplano far below. The vast plateau stretches outward in muted tones of amber, ochre, and soft green, dotted with distant mirrors of shallow salt flats that catch the afternoon light. From this elevated perspective, the world feels remarkably quiet and still. All around the young llama, the mature members of the herd settle into a peaceful stillness. The gentle, synchronized rhythm of their collective breathing rises and falls like a slow, whispering tide. This quiet unison fills the crisp mountain air, restoring absolute calm to the entire group after the long hours of vertical exertion. Each slow inhalation draws in the high-altitude air, where lower barometric pressure is effortlessly managed by their uniquely adapted cardiovascular system, keeping every heart steady and relaxed. The juvenile lowers its soft muzzle toward a small patch of resilient bunchgrass clinging to the sheltered side of a weathered rock. It nibbles a few tender blades, chewing with a slow, hypnotic regularity that mirrors the peacefulness of the surrounding landscape. The distant, lonely cry of a high-altitude bird echoes softly across the canyon, fading gently into the vast, open sky without disturbing the profound tranquility. Slowly, the long afternoon shadows begin to stretch eastward across the rocky terrain, signaling the gradual shift from day to evening. The cooling air whispers through the thickening wool of the resting animals, inviting a deep, restorative heaviness into their tired limbs. Secure within the heart of the resting herd, the young camelid simply watches the serene panorama below, letting go of the day's final thoughts as it drifts toward the quiet comfort of the coming night. The afternoon breeze slows, carrying the dry, mineral scent of sun-warmed earth across the high Andean plateau. As the sun dips toward the jagged horizon, it spills a rich amber wash over the volcanic slopes, lengthening the shadows of the grazing herd. Moving with a quiet, synchronized rhythm, the family group drifts away from the sparse bunch grasses and toward a sheltered sandy basin, a natural depression where fine volcanic soils and pale silt have settled over centuries. Walking closely beside its mother, The growing juvenile llama feels the gradual shift in the group's momentum. The steady, purposeful pace of daytime foraging softens into a relaxed, meandering drift. For a camelid developing its dense double coat, this transition is essential. The juvenile's growing fleece, comprising a fine, thermally efficient undercoat and coarser outer guard hairs, demands constant maintenance to remain effective against the dramatic temperature fluctuations of the high-altitude desert. Around them, the landscape exhales the day's accumulated heat. The gentle crunch of sliding gravel fades as the mature animals begin to cluster within the protected confines of the sandy clearing. Ears tilt forward and swivel lazily, catching the soft, resonant hums exchanged between herd members. This auditory communication reinforces social cohesion, signaling safety and communal calm as the resting phase begins. The juvenile pauses, watching an older female lower her long legs toward the earth, initiating the ancient ritual of care. Bathed in the golden light of the waning sun, the entire herd settles deeper into the basin, preparing to tend to skin and coat in the cool, welcoming dust. The mature female sinks fully into the loose, powdery silt, shifting her weight until the fine volcanic ash rises in a soft, silvery halo. Watching closely, the juvenile steps into the basin, drawn to the quiet necessity of the ritual. For a high-altitude camelid, this earth is more than comfort. It is an essential tool for survival. As the juvenile drops beside the older animals, the tiny, weathered particles of silica and pumice begin their silent work within the thick fleece. The integumentary system of the llama requires careful balance, especially as the summer warmth prompts seasonal coat changes. The fine volcanic dust sifts deeply through the coarse, weather-resistant outer guard hairs, plunging downward to reach the dense, insulating underwool. Here, the mineral-rich grains act as a natural absorbent, catching excess subcutaneous oils and wicking away any trapped moisture left by afternoon humidity or exertion. This drying action is vital for parasite control. Mites and other tiny ectoparasites that thrive in the shadowed warmth of a growing winter into summer coat find their habitats disrupted by the abrasive, suffocating grit. Coated in fine dust, they lose their footing and are easily dislodged. Furthermore, this natural powdering prevents the dense fibers from matting, preserving the loft of the fleece. By keeping the air pockets within the undercoat clear, the dust bathing ensures that the animal's insulating layers remain exceptionally light and fully functional against the biting cold winds that will arrive the moment the sun slips below the jagged horizon. Beside the experienced female, the juvenile prepares to copy the ancient ritual. The mature llama lowers her long frame to the warm earth with practiced grace, folding her slender legs neatly beneath her chest. With a slight shift of her hindquarters, she scuffs the loose soil, loosening the grit into a fine, inviting layer. The young animal watches intently, ears perked forward in absolute concentration. Mirroring the elders, the juvenile tries to fold its growing limbs, but youthful coordination momentarily falters. Legs tangle softly in the sand, and the young camelid drops into an awkward, lopsided sprawl, tipping too far to one side with a clumsy rustle of coarse guard hairs. Undeterred by the tumble, the juvenile rights itself, adjusts its angles, and tries again. This time, the descent is smoother. Lowering its chest to the earth, the young llama lets out a long, contented exhale that stirs the faint crunch of sliding gravel beneath its brisket. With a gentle kick of the hind legs, the juvenile begins to roll, tossing a small cascade of silvery dust over its flank. This innocent clumsiness is a crucial part of growing up within the herd. Through pure observation and physical repetition, the juvenile's developing nervous system maps the exact mechanics of self-grooming. Every clumsy twist and awkward pivot helps the young animal learn how to distribute the protective minerals evenly across its skin. As the juvenile finally finds its rhythm, rolling gently from side to side in the warm sunlight, It participates in the living heritage of the high plateau, mastering the art of care and comfort under the watchful eyes of the herd. In the shallow basin, several animals gather closely together, enveloped in a haze of sunlit earth. Harmony within the resting herd is maintained not through dominance, but through a language of subtle grace. Ears remain softly relaxed and forward-facing, signaling tranquil alertness rather than tension. Across the dusting hollow, occasional low humming notes ripple through the group, vocalizations that serve as an acoustic anchor, reassuring every member of the collective presence nearby. For the juvenile, experiencing such close physical proximity with non-maternal herd members is an essential lesson in community. As an adult, male shifts his weight nearby, sending a gentle whisper of evening wind across the sand. The young llama learns to interpret the micro-movements of others. Camelid social dynamics rely heavily on these quiet negotiations of space and mutual tolerance. There are no sudden lunges or sharp reprimands. Instead, boundaries are communicated through the tilt of a chin or a soft softening of the gaze. The juvenile absorbs these silent rules instinctively, pressing its warm flank gently against the side of an unrelated female without triggering any defensive posturing. This shared vulnerability during maintenance solidifies trust across generations. By resting shoulder to shoulder in the grit, the herd functions as a single organism of awareness. The young camelid breathes in rhythm with the mature animals surrounding it, its nervous system learning that safety is multiplied within the fold. Here, in the amber glow of the fading afternoon, social integration is as natural and comforting as the cooling earth beneath their chests. As the amber glow of sunset begins to soften into deep violet, the communal rest in the basin draws to its natural close. The oldest female lifts her head first, folding her long legs beneath her and rising with a smooth, fluid grace. One by one, the other mature llamas follow this coordinated sequence, standing tall upon the shifting sands. With the return to their feet comes an instinctive mechanical reset. Each animal initiates a vigorous full-body tremor, starting from the crown of the head and rippling all the way down the length of the spine. This rhythmic shaking sends a second miniature cloud of golden dust billowing into the evening air, carrying away the microscopic debris, excess oils, and dislodged parasites trapped deep within the undercoat. The coarse guard hairs snap back into place, restoring the loft and insulating properties of the double coat just as the temperature begins to drop. Watching closely, the juvenile mirrors the adults, pushing up onto steady legs and planting its feet firmly in the grit. It shakes its small frame with enthusiastic concentration, feeling the loose earth sift out of its wool and drift away on the breeze. A profound sense of lightness follows. The skin tingles pleasantly, aerated and refreshed, perfectly conditioned for the coming chill of the Altiplano night. Side by side, the herd settles into a calm twilight stance. The air grows still, carrying only the faint whisper of the cooling wind across the plateau, leaving the young camelid deeply relaxed, secure, and ready for rest. As the last ember of sunlight slips completely beneath the western mountain ridges, a vast and quiet twilight claims the high Andean plateau. Above, the sky transitions from brilliant violet to a deep, velvety indigo, punctuated by the soft glimmer of early stars. The dust that hung suspended in the air settles slowly back onto the earth, coating the sandy clearing in a whisper-thin layer. Standing beside its mother, the juvenile llama breathes in the crisp, cooling air of the high altitude. The wind fades to a gentle, steady sigh, slipping silently over the volcanic slopes. Across the basin, the herd begins to settle. One by one, the animals fold their long limbs beneath them, sinking downward into sternal recumbency with quiet grace. Their soft padded feet tuck neatly against their chests, conserving precious body heat against the descending night. The juvenile lowers itself as well, pressing its warm flank gently against the maternal side. In this resting posture, the physiology of the camelid shifts for the long, cold hours ahead. The freshly conditioned double coat, now thoroughly aerated and free of debris from the evening's ritual, locks in a blanket of warm air close to the skin. The juvenile's breathing deepens and slows, matching the steady, rhythmic cadence of the mature animals around it. The shadows lengthen and merge, blanketing the resting plateau in absolute serenity. Surrounded by the quiet presence of the herd, the young llama lets its heavy eyelids drift closed. The vast steppe grows still, cradled in the deep, peaceful embrace of the Andean night. The fierce heat of the late summer day surrenders at last, leaving behind a profound, velvety stillness across the sheltered Andean valley. As the sun dips far below the jagged ridgelines, the lingering warmth radiates slowly from the dark earth, creating a gentle thermal buffer against the biting mountain drafts high above. Drawn by an ancient instinct for safety, the llama herd moves in a quiet, synchronized drift toward the deepest, most protected basin of the valley. Here, towering slopes of ancient rock and dense blankets of rustling tussock grass stand as silent guardians against the night wind. The growing juvenile steps closely beside its mother, its long legs moving with a fluid, unhurried grace, feeling the reassuring rhythm of the family group pressing near. One by one, the heavy-bodied adults begin to fold their limbs beneath them, sinking smoothly into sternal recumbency, the classic resting posture of the camelid. They tuck their slender legs neatly against their chests, resting their weight evenly on thick, calloused sternal pads designed for the rocky ground. Sensing the tranquil shift, the juvenile lowers its own frame to the earth, pressing its warm flank gently against the familiar, secure presence of an older female. The ambient sounds of the evening settle into a soothing lull, the subtle shifting of dry gravel beneath a repositioned hoof, the light, rhythmic sigh of a gentle night wind brushing through the tall grasses, and the distant, lonely call of a high-altitude nightbird. Under a vast canopy of emerging stars, the valley grows deeply still, holding the herd in a profound embrace of summer peace. Settled upon the cooling earth, the young llama experiences a deeply specialized physical comfort unique to camelids. Unlike horses or deer that must lie upon their sides or spring upward with effort, the juvenile rests in a specialized sternal recumbency, tucking both forelegs and hind legs neatly beneath the barrel of its chest. This architectural posture centers the animal's mass directly over thick, leathery sternal pads, anatomical cushions of hardened skin that protect the breastbone from the cold, unyielding stones of the Andean floor. In this secure alignment, the body forms a compact, efficient mound that minimizes exposed surface area. This clever geometry preserves precious metabolic warmth against the nocturnal chill while keeping the center of gravity low and stable. Should a sudden disturbance ripple through the valley, the juvenile is uniquely prepared. With a single fluid motion of unfolding limbs, it can rise instantly to its feet without awkward rolling or struggling. Yet, for now, there is no need for haste. The posture invites complete physical relaxation. Muscles along the spine soften, and the weight of the growing frame distributes evenly, allowing the ribcage to expand and contract with slow, restorative breaths. The juvenile's long neck rests in a gentle, graceful curve, sometimes laid flat across the ground or tucked back along the shoulder in an attitude of profound ease. Protected by the dense wool of its summer coat and anchored by the comforting proximity of the herd, the young animal rests in absolute stability, suspended between the quiet earth and the vast, starlit expanse above. With the body fully anchored in restful repose, an internal cycle begins beneath the calm surface of the night. Within the warmth of the valley, the young llama engages in one of the most remarkable adaptations of the high Andes, rumination. Having spent the warm daylight hours grazing selectively upon fibrous grasses and tough mountain shrubs, the juvenile now welcomes the quiet hours of darkness to process the harvest. Digestion in camelids is a masterclass in biological efficiency. Though not true ruminants with four-chambered stomachs, llamas possess a specialized three-chambered digestive tract. As the juvenile rests, a smooth, involuntary contraction stirs within the forestomach. A small, neatly packed bolus of partially digested plant matter travels upward from the forestomach, moving quietly back up the esophagus to enter the mouth once more. The ambient stillness is soon filled with a soft, rhythmic grinding of cuds. The juvenile's jaw moves in a slow, circular motion, crushing the tough cellulose fibers a second time. This meticulous mechanical breakdown vastly increases the surface area for microscopic microbes waiting in the digestive chambers. Each deliberate chew extracts every available drop of moisture and nutrient from plants that would otherwise pass through unspent. Saliva flows in a steady, alkaline stream, buffering the stomach and ensuring optimal conditions for fermentation. There is a deeply meditative quality to this nocturnal labor. The rhythmic sound blends seamlessly with the light rustling of tussock grass in the gentle night wind. Surrounded by family, the growing animal processes the bounty of the summer slopes, turning raw wilderness into quiet growth. Once swallowed for the second time, the softened cud descends past the esophagus and enters the second and third compartments of the specialized tract. Here, away from the cooling night air, a complex ecosystem of fermentation takes over. The unique three-chambered architecture of the camelid stomach acts as a biological refinery, perfectly engineered for the harsh realities of high-altitude survival. Within these warm, glandular chambers, specialized populations of bacteria and protozoa break down tough plant lignins that defy standard digestion. Because the Andean environment offers sparse, highly fibrous vegetation, this extended fermentation process is essential for survival. The microorganisms work tirelessly through the starlit hours, converting stubborn cell walls into rich, volatile fatty acids. These molecules provide the primary energy source fueling the young animal's steady growth. Unlike strict ruminants, camelids absorb nutrients with remarkable thoroughness across the walls of the forestomach itself, maximizing efficiency before the digesta even reaches the true stomach. This physiological specialization means even the toughest bunch grasses of the summer slopes yield their hidden stores of sustenance. Nothing is wasted in this finely tuned cycle. As the fermentation continues in the background, a deep, contented warmth spreads through the juvenile's resting frame. The internal furnace maintains a stable core temperature despite the falling ambient heat of the high-altitude night. With the digestive mechanics operating at peak performance, the young llama rests deeper into the gravelly earth, surrendering entirely to the restorative peace of the sheltered valley. Surrounding the sleeping juvenile, the adult members of the herd maintain a quiet, shared vigilance that defines the social security of camelid life. Even in deep sternal recumbency, with their legs folded neatly beneath their bodies, the mature llamas remain acutely attuned to the subtle shifts of the Andean night. Their long, mobile ears pivot independently, catching the faintest whisper of the gentle night wind as it flows down the sheltered valley slopes. This collective awareness relies on a staggered watch. While one adult rests its head flat against the earth, another keeps its long neck arched high, scanning the starlit horizon with large, dark eyes adapted for nocturnal clarity. If a distant sound arises, perhaps the subtle shifting of gravel or the soft rustling of tussock grass driven by an upper mountain draft, an alert adult emits a low, resonant humming vibration. This vocal reassurance instantly subdues any rising tension across the resting group, signaling to the surrounding family that all is secure. This shared perimeter of watchful calm creates a psychological sanctuary for the young llama. Protected by the dense circle of trusted bodies, the juvenile does not need to guard its own sleep. The heavy eyelids finally flutter closed, and breathing deepens into a slow, rhythmic cadence. Secure in the collective mindfulness of the herd, the growing animal surrenders completely to the restorative quiet, resting safely beneath the ancient Andean stars. Above the sheltered valley, the Andean sky opens into a vast, celestial ocean. Far from the lights of the lowlands, the atmosphere is thin and remarkably clear, allowing millions of stars to burn with steady, diamond brilliance. The Milky Road stretches like a pale bridge of luminous stardust from one jagged ridgeline to the other, casting a soft, silvery glow over the resting herd. In this high-altitude sanctuary, the summer night reaches its quietest, most peaceful hour, wrapped in an immense and comforting silence. This radiance marks the culmination of the warm summer season. Yet, even as the valley holds the lingering heat of the day, a subtle shift hangs in the crisp midnight air. High upon the surrounding peaks, the first invisible whispers of autumn begin to stir. The constellations slowly wheel across the dark expanse, hinting at the inevitable cycle of the mountain year. Days will eventually shorten, and the golden bunch grasses will cure to amber. But tonight belongs entirely to the gentle suspension of summer. Bathed in starlight, the young llama slumbers deeply, its body relaxed and renewed by the restorative night. The steady rise and fall of its flank mirrors the slow rhythm of the earth itself. Surrounded by family, cradled by the ancient mountains, and warmed by the quiet strength of the herd, the juvenile rests without a single care. Tomorrow will bring new wanderings across the high slopes, but for now, the sleeping valley remains suspended in peace, waiting patiently for the dawn. Dawn breaks slowly over the high Andean plateau, lifting a violet shadow from the vast open steppes. As autumn replaces the fleeting warmth of summer, a profound stillness settles across the landscape. The crisp morning wind whispers softly through the valleys, carrying the scent of cold earth and distant snow. Across the wide expanses, a heavy, pristine frost grips the ground. Every blade of coarse bunch grass and every low-lying tuft of tussock is encased in delicate crystals, catching the first pale rays of sunlight and transforming the entire basin into a shimmering tapestry of amber and ochre. Amidst this frozen expanse, a subadult llama stands entirely at ease. The high-altitude air is thin and biting, yet the young camelid remains completely unbothered by the chill. With each slow, measured inhalation, a soft plume of warm breath drifts upward into the freezing morning, dissolving gently into the quiet air. The environment here operates under strict physiological demands. At elevations exceeding 4,000 meters, atmospheric pressure is low, and temperatures fluctuate wildly between the sunlit day and the frozen night. To survive these transitions, native wildlife relies on specialized adaptations. The subadult's developing body is already fine-tuned for this rigorous domain, possessing an expanded chest cavity and specialized hemoglobin capable of binding oxygen efficiently in the oxygen-poor atmosphere. Around the resting animal, the ambient sounds of the awakening Altiplano weave a comforting cadence. The delicate crunch of frost breaking beneath distant, unseen hooves carries across the plains, mingling with the high, lonely call of a crested duck wheeling over a distant glacial tarn. It is a peaceful, timeless rhythm, cradled by the vast, silent majesty of the mountains. The secret to the young llama's comfort in the freezing dawn lies in an intricate biological transformation that has been quietly unfolding over the past several weeks. As autumn deepens its grip on the plateau, the subadult's physique is undergoing a remarkable seasonal adaptation, transitioning from a lighter summer profile into a heavily insulated winter state. This defense against the cold is anchored by a sophisticated double coat of fleece. Beneath an outer layer of coarse, weather-resistant guard hairs, a dense undercoat of fine, crimped wool is rapidly multiplying. Each individual hair follicle produces fibers that trap microscopic pockets of air against the skin, creating an impenetrable thermal barrier. This evolutionary masterclass in natural insulation prevents body heat from escaping into the biting wind, while the coarse outer fibers deflect wind and morning moisture with effortless efficiency. Running fingers, or in this case, a gentle breeze, through the fiber reveals a remarkable tactile depth. The outer coat feels sturdy and resilient, while the underwool is as soft and warm as spun cloud. Nature has engineered this dual-layered fleece to withstand plummeting temperatures that routinely dip well below freezing across the high Andean steppes. As the sun climbs higher, casting a long amber shadow across the frosted earth, the subadult shifts its weight, shaking out the thick wool along its flanks. A soft rustling of dry bunchgrass accompanies the movement, blending with the low, contented humming vocalizations rippling softly through the resting herd. Fully equipped by biology and time, the young camelid stands prepared for the cold seasons ahead, wrapped in a naturally woven armor designed for the roof of the world. With the changing season, the lush, succulent green shoots of summer have faded into memory, replaced by a landscape dominated by amber and ochre. As the sun continues its slow ascent over the high plateau, the subadult llama directs its attention toward a new nutritional challenge. Slowing plant growth across the Altiplano requires a complete dietary shift, prompting the young camelid to adapt its foraging strategy for the lean months ahead. The menu now consists of tougher, resilient fare, dried bunchgrasses, low woody shrubs, and nutrient-rich lichens clinging tightly to ancient volcanic rocks. To harvest these hardy resources without injury, the subadult relies on an exceptional anatomical adaptation. Its uniquely mobile, deeply split upper lip moves with incredible dexterity, parting thorny stems and coarse leaves with surgical precision. The animal selects only the most nourishing parts of each stubborn plant. Behind this split lip rest hard dental pads and sharp incisors, perfectly evolved to shear through fibrous vegetation that would defeat other herbivores. With slow, methodical grinding motions of its powerful jaw, the subadult processes the dry material, extracting every drop of moisture and essential energy. This specialized digestion is aided by a 3-chambered stomach, a marvel of evolutionary design that ferments tough cellulose with quiet efficiency. As the young llama grazes peacefully beside mature herd members, it quietly masters the art of survival on the austere Andean steppes, turning sparse autumn resources into steady, sustaining warmth for the journey ahead. As the amber meadow stretches wide beneath the brightening autumn sky, the grazing herd begins to slow its pace. The subadult llama lifts its head, surveys the quiet plateau, and makes a deliberate choice. Gently, it folds its slender legs beneath its heavy body, settling into a comfortable position of sternal recumbency upon the frost-touched earth. Its thick, insulated coat presses warmly against the cool ground. Here, in the quiet sanctuary of the resting herd, the internal work of survival truly begins. The tough, fibrous vegetation gathered during the morning hours now requires deep biological processing. The subadult stretches its long neck slightly, its jaw moving in a slow, rhythmic circle. A soft, contented stillness washes over the young camelid as the marvel of rumination takes hold. Inside its specialized 3-chambered stomach, the first phase of digestion is already underway. Microscopic flora begin breaking down the tough cellulose of dried bunchgrasses and woody stems that few other animals can utilize. To extract the maximum possible nutrition from these austere high-altitude plants, the subadult periodically brings a small bolus of partially digested forage back up the esophagus, a process known scientifically as merychippus rumination, or simply chewing the cud. With eyes half closed against the gentle morning wind, the young llama grinds the cud with slow, methodical strokes of its powerful molars. Each patient rotation of the jaw releases vital proteins and stored energy, converting sparse autumn sustenance into the physiological warmth needed for the approaching winter. Saliva mixes smoothly with the dry fibers, further unlocking nutrients before the mash returns to the fermentation chambers. Around it, mature herd members settle into similar postures of quiet repose, their low humming vocalizations vibrating softly through the crisp air. The sub-adult synchronizes its breathing with the rhythm of the herd, perfectly at peace within the golden landscape. Surrounded by familiar herd members, the sub-adult experiences a profound sense of security. The quiet expanse of the amber plateau feels vast, yet within the circle of the resting camelids, the atmosphere is intimately calm. Soft, vibrating humming sounds pass gently between individuals, a low-frequency auditory communication that travels through the crisp morning air to reinforce social cohesion across the changing landscape. This acoustic exchange serves as an invisible anchor for the herd. Without a single sudden movement, the sub-adult and its companions maintain a state of calm vigilance. The young llama tilts its ears slightly forward, registering the gentle resonance of a mature female resting nearby. In response, a soft, purring hum rises from the sub-adult's own throat, a low, rhythmic sound that reassures the herd of its steady presence and peaceful intent. Such tactile and vocal connections are essential as the seasons turn. By maintaining close physical proximity and sharing these low-level contact communications, the herd strengthens its collective social structure. The sub-adult absorbs the tranquil confidence of the older animals, learning the subtle cues of herd harmony that will sustain it through the colder months ahead. As the sun climbs higher, casting a warmer golden light across the frosted tussock grass, the gentle chorus of hums begins to fade into a peaceful silence. Eyes grow heavy, and heads droop slightly toward the earth. Resting together in unbroken harmony, the herd drifts deeper into a state of shared serenity, cradled by the vast, quiet beauty of the high Andean steppes. As the sun climbs higher, casting a warmer, honeyed light across the frosted tussock grass, the resting camelids begin to stir. Without a single sudden movement, the herd rises as one from the amber earth, shaking the night's chill from their newly thickened double coats of wool and coarse guard hair. The sub-adult stretches its slender legs, standing tall amidst the group as it prepares for the day's slow, deliberate migration across the high plateau. Moving with practiced confidence, the young llama steps forward onto the crisp morning ground. Frost cracks gently under its soft, cushioned hooves, leaving a faint trail of prints in the glistening soil. The herd falls into a familiar, steady rhythm, navigating the vast expanse with an unhurried grace honed by generations of evolutionary adaptation to this demanding terrain. Every stride carries them deeper into the amber-toned steppe, where elevated foraging zones await against the distant volcanic slopes. Around the sub-adult, mature herd members pace the journey with calm authority. The young camelid maintains its position within the shifting social geometry of the group, occasionally glancing toward older companions to gauge the collective tempo. Distant high-altitude bird calls echo across the open basin, carried on a gentle morning wind that rustles the dry, golden bunchgrass underfoot. As the procession continues across the luminous landscape, subtle social adjustments take place. Necks crane and ears flick in silent communication, reinforcing the boundaries and bonds that hold the family unit together. The sub-adult absorbs these cues with quiet attentiveness, seamlessly integrating its movements with the rhythm of the herd, perfectly attuned to the shifting life of the autumn highlands. A crisp morning wind sweeps across the high-altitude plateau, carrying the quiet chill of the approaching winter. Across the expansive Puna, the golden bunchgrass glistens with a delicate layer of overnight frost. As the first pale rays of sunlight touch the landscape, a young sub-adult llama stirs from its resting place, blinking sleepily against the bright, thin air, with a gentle stretching of long legs and a soft, gravelly crunch of hooves. The animal rises to join the waking herd. All around, the members of the community begin to converge toward a familiar, low-lying landmark near the edge of their seasonal range. This traditional gathering place, visited generation after generation, serves as a vital anchor for the herd's daily movements. The older, dominant males lead the procession with deliberate grace, their long necks held high and alert, while the younger animals fall smoothly into place behind them. The air is filled with the subtle ambient sounds of the high steps, the whisper of a gentle breeze rustling through the stiff bunch grass, the faint, echoing call of a mountain bird far in the distance, and the low, resonant humming vocalizations that family members use to acknowledge one another in the morning light. These familiar acoustic cues weave a tapestry of reassurance, binding the herd together before the day's activities even begin. Here at the threshold of the territorial boundary, the subadult pauses, breathing in the rich, complex scents carried on the morning air. The stage is set for a day of learning, observation, and peaceful coexistence within the rolling rhythms of the herd. At the edge of the gathering area, the subadult stops to watch a quiet masterclass in social navigation. In the high Andes, physical conflict carries a heavy energetic cost, so llamas have evolved a sophisticated lexicon of silent postures to resolve disputes before they ever begin. An older male stands nearby, demonstrating the subtle language of rank. His ears are pinned flat back against his crown, a clear, unambiguous signal of agitation or dominance. A younger rival reads this postural cue instantly, lowering his own neck and tilting his head downward to diffuse any potential tension. The subadult carefully notes the nuances of tail carriage as well. When relaxed, a llama's tail hangs loosely, but a raised fan-like tail signals high alertness or rising authority. By simply adjusting the angle of the neck and the tension of the lips, herd members negotiate personal space without a single strike or kick. Interspersed among these visual cues are soft, rhythmic humming vocalizations. These gentle vibrations drift through the crisp morning air like a soothing chorus, reassuring nearby companions and reinforcing social bonds. The subadult practices a quiet hum of its own, testing the deep resonance in its chest. This auditory web maintains herd cohesion across the wide, open spaces of the Puna, allowing family members to stay connected even when scattered across the frost-touched slopes. Through these quiet displays of posture and sound, the hierarchy remains steady, peaceful, and fully understood by every member of the resting herd. A short distance away, where the bunch grass thins into a sandy depression, the herd drifts toward a vital landmark of the high plateau. This is a communal dunging site, an ancient, deeply ingrained feature of Andean ecology. For generations, camelids have returned to these exact spots to deposit waste, creating structured boundaries that span the open Puna. As the morning breeze carries across the frost-tipped earth, the subadult steps forward to examine the textured terrain, guided by an instinct older than memory. These shared latrines function as complex olfactory bulletin boards. Through scent markings rich in chemical signatures, neighboring family groups broadcast vital information without ever needing to meet face to face. A llama can read these invisible messages with a delicate curl of its upper lip, detecting the physiological status, territorial claims, and individual identities of other travelers across the valley. It is a sophisticated chemical network etched into the soil, keeping distant herds aware of one another's movements and maintaining peaceful spacing across vast grazing grounds. The subadult carefully adds its own contribution to the mound, learning the spatial rules that bind the community together. Every member participates, reinforcing social unity and defining the heart of their home range. There is a quiet, rhythmic calm to the process, undisturbed by the crisp morning wind that rustles the golden bunch grass. By respecting these shared boundaries, the herd maintains ecological harmony, ensuring that the fragile pastures of the high altitude remain balanced and serene under the widening autumn sky. Leaving the sandy depression behind, A pair of yearlings drift toward a level expanse of dry turf, their soft gravel crunch blending with a gentle breeze through bunchgrass. Here, away from the quiet seriousness of the adult leaders, the younger members of the herd find their energy shifting toward play. Playful sparring serves as an essential developmental crucible, allowing subadults to practice the physical coordination and social confidence required for adult life. With ears tipped softly forward, the two young llamas approach one another in a slow, deliberate dance. They lower their long necks parallel to the ground, gently pressing their chests together in a test of balance and leverage. There is no genuine aggression here. Instead, the interaction is governed by an innate restraint. They engage in light neck wrestling, crossing their slender necks and leaning against each other with measured pressure. These ritualized skirmishes allow the subadults to test their growing strength and refine the postural signaling that will one day help them resolve real disputes without injury. Low humming vocalizations pass between them, rhythmic and comforting, ensuring that the play remains cooperative rather than competitive. Every movement is fluid and unhurried under the widening autumn sky. As they step back, shaking out their thick winter coats, they have once again reinforced their mutual bonds. The brief flurry of activity subsides as quickly as it began, leaving the young camelids standing shoulder to shoulder in the crisp morning air, calmly looking out over the peaceful expanse of the high-altitude plateau. A few paces away from the sparring ground, the atmosphere shifts as a seasoned herd leader approaches. This dominant adult moves with a deliberate, unhurried grace, embodying the quiet authority that keeps the community secure across the unpredictable Puna. Recognizing the subtle cue of the leader's elevated head and backward-tilted ears, the sub-adult immediately yields space. Stepping aside onto a patch of dry bunchgrass, the younger llama demonstrates an innate understanding of social hierarchy. This graceful deference is not born of fear, but of a deep evolutionary programming that reduces friction and maintains harmony within the group. Older herd members play a vital role in guiding seasonal movements and teaching the finer points of resource sharing. By observing the calm demeanor of the elders, the subadult learns how posture and spatial awareness dictate peaceful coexistence. The dominant male pauses, lets out a low, resonant hum that vibrates softly in the crisp morning air, then looks back to ensure the rest of the family group is aligned. It is a reassuring sound, anchoring the herd in a shared sense of safety. With quiet compliance, the subadult follows a few steps behind the leader, absorbing the rhythm of the march. The older animal pauses to sample a tuft of golden ichu grass, granting permission by its very stillness for the younger ones to graze nearby. In this gentle transfer of space and leadership, the social fabric of the high-altitude plateau knits tightly together. Every member knows its place, and the peace of the morning remains unbroken. As the golden sunlight climbs higher into the pale autumn sky, the crisp edge of the morning breeze softens into a gentle, warming draft. The herd disperses smoothly from the communal gathering place, arranging themselves into orderly, unhurried foraging lines that sweep across the expansive plateau. Moving confidently alongside its peers, the subadult steps lightly over the soft gravel, its stride now perfectly synchronized with the steady rhythm of the family group. Every head bobs in a synchronized motion as they select tender shoots of bunchgrass, pausing every few moments to lift their muzzles and scan the tranquil horizon. The lessons of the early hours, the subtle tilts of the ears, the respectful spacing, and the shared boundaries marked across the earth settle deeply into the young animal's awareness. These daily rituals of hierarchy and harmony are the invisible threads holding the community together against the vastness of the high-altitude world. There is no rush, no sudden panic, only the steady, calming cadence of hooves brushing against dry vegetation and the soft, intermittent breath of contented animals. As the midday warmth takes gentle hold of the landscape, the collective movement of the herd becomes an effortless flow. The subadult breathes deeply, senses quieted by the reassuring presence of the elders, completely integrated into the peaceful, timeless pulse of the Puna. High upon the golden expanse of the Andean Puna, autumn tightens its crisp, dry grip. The seasonal rains have long since retreated into memory, leaving behind a vast landscape painted in amber grasses and dusty earth. Across this high-altitude desert, the shallow, temporary pools that once dotted the basin have evaporated entirely under the piercing sun. Without surface moisture, the environment demands specialized survival. Yet life persists through ancient adaptation. Camelids like the llama are masterpieces of physiological conservation. Their oval-shaped red blood cells possess an exceptional affinity for oxygen, allowing them to thrive in thin air, while their kidneys concentrate urine to minimize fluid loss. But even the hardiest constitution requires replenishment. As the dry weeks stretch onward, a quiet urgency settles over the herd. Thirst is a subtle prompt, answered not by panic, but by generational wisdom. Deep within the minds of the herd's seasoned matriarchs lies a living map, an intricate repository of spatial memory passed down through endless cycles of migration. They remember the ancient trails carved into the mountainside, paths worn smooth by ancestors seeking the lifeblood of the peaks. As the afternoon sun begins its long, slanting descent, casting long indigo shadows across the valley floor, the lead matriarch lifts her head. Her dark eyes scan the horizon, fixed on a distant, low-lying draw where the earth yields a different kind of promise. With a soft, low hum, she shifts her weight and steps forward. The rest of the community stirs, aligning their movements with her purposeful stride. They turn their backs to the drying plains, heading steadily downward toward the enduring, cold flow of the glacial meltwater stream waiting far below. The descent unfolds in an orderly, single-file procession along winding tracks carved deep into the volcanic soil over centuries of steady transit. Every hoofbeat is a quiet echo of the past, as the herd treads precisely where countless generations have walked before them. The pathways are narrow ribbons of soft gravel crunching gently beneath padded feet, designed by instinct to prevent erosion and preserve the fragile high-altitude ecosystem. Moving within the protective middle ranks of the formation, the subadult llama maintains a steady, energy-efficient pace. Its long legs swing with a smooth, pendulum-like rhythm, requiring remarkably little muscular exertion, a testament to an anatomical design built for long-distance endurance. The young camelid keeps its gaze fixed forward, attentively watching the older guides leading the way. Every subtle ear twitch, every slight alteration in the lead matriarch's posture is carefully noted and mirrored. This spatial positioning is no accident. Flanked by experienced adults, the subadult is shielded from the biting, gentle wind that sweeps down from the rocky ridges above. It absorbs the unspoken rules of herd movement, learning how to regulate its breathing against the thin air and how to time its steps to match the collective cadence of the community. As the trail dips lower, weaving past dormant clumps of bunchgrass and weathered volcanic boulders, the distant, soothing sound of flowing water begins to drift upward on the breeze. The reliable pathways guide them onward, drawing the travelers ever closer to the life-giving stream below. As the descent leads further down toward the valley floor, the air grows subtly warmer, heightening the biological demands of the arid autumn journey. Yet, camelids are masterpieces of physiological adaptation, uniquely equipped to handle the dry expanse of the high Andes without losing precious moisture. Inside the subadult's bloodstream, remarkable cellular mechanics are already at work. Unlike many mammals, a llama's red blood cells are oval-shaped rather than circular, allowing them to swell significantly without rupturing when rehydrating, and to flow smoothly through thickened, dehydrated blood during dry spells. Every stride draws the young animal closer to the glacial melt, supported by an exceptionally efficient urinary and digestive system. The kidneys of Llama possess an astonishing ability to concentrate waste, reclaiming nearly every drop of water before it leaves the body. Combined with a digestive tract that extracts maximum moisture from fibrous, sun-baked forage, these internal systems ensure that fluid loss is kept to an absolute minimum. The subadult breathes deeply through its nose, minimizing respiratory evaporation in the thin, dry mountain air, relying on a sophisticated thermal regulation system that tolerates wide fluctuations in body temperature without needing to sweat. Gliding downward with effortless grace, the young llama feels no frantic panic of thirst, only the calm, steady biological hum of endurance. The ancestral code written within its anatomy speaks of patience and resilience, whispering through muscle and vein that the water ahead is well within reach, waiting patiently at the bottom of the winding trail. Ahead, the landscape softens as the rocky slope gives way to a wide, emerald green pocket of the valley. Cutting through this sheltered basin, a glacial meltwater stream weaves a shimmering silver ribbon across the earth, its gentle, flowing stream whispering a soothing promise to the travel-weary herd. Beside the clear, tumbling water, hardy dwarf shrubs cling to the moist soil, their textured leaves rustling softly in the gentle wind. With measured, deliberate steps, the animals approach the water's edge in a calm, orderly procession. The subadult halts just a few paces from the bank, its dark, fringed eyes watching closely as the experienced matriarchs test the firmness of the terrain, their wide, padded feet pressing gently into the damp earth to ensure a safe, stable footing. Following their quiet cue, the young llama steps forward onto the smooth stones of the shoreline. Lowering its long, graceful neck, the subadult takes its first drink. The cool, pristine water flows in rhythmic, measured sips, instantly quenching the internal thirst of the miles-long trek. This is a moment of profound physiological relief, because camelids can rapidly absorb large volumes of water to replace depleted fluids without shocking their system. The subadult drinks deeply yet steadily, restoring cellular balance from hoof to ear. Around the bend, younger herd members begin to browse contentedly on the nutritious dwarf shrubs lining the stream banks, their soft lips selecting tender shoots. Above, distant birdsong echoes faintly against the darkening cliffs, blending with the steady music of the current. The community settles gently onto the warm, smooth stones, resting together as the late afternoon temperature begins its slow, peaceful descent into evening. With thirst thoroughly quenched, the subadult lifts its head, water droplets glistening on its muzzle before turning its attention to the vibrant riparian vegetation thriving beside the channel. The late autumn air carries a crisp edge, yet this ribbon of moisture supports a specialized ecosystem capable of surviving the harsh high-altitude climate. The young camelid approaches a cluster of hardy dwarf shrubs, its mobile, split upper lip expertly parting the woody twigs to select the most tender, nutrient-dense shoots. This dietary flexibility is vital for survival in the high Andes. While coarse bunch grasses dominate the dry upper slopes, these low-growing streamside plants provide essential minerals and moisture as the colder months approach. The subadult's specialized digestive system, featuring a 3-chambered stomach capable of efficient microbial fermentation, begins processing the fibrous stems, extracting every ounce of energy from the modest autumn growth. Nearby, other herd members also engage in quiet browsing, the subtle rustling of shrubs mingling with the gentle wind and the constant, soothing melody of the flowing stream. Soft gravel crunches underfoot as the animals shift slightly, maintaining a peaceful communal rhythm that reinforces social bonds without a single vocalization. The subadult lingers over a particularly lush patch of riverside grass, chewing with a slow, meditative regularity that mirrors the calm expanse of the descending afternoon. Every movement is deliberate, unhurried, and perfectly attuned to the rhythms of the valley. As the afternoon light softens into deep amber hues, The herd drifts toward a cluster of smooth, weathered stones resting near the water's edge. The subadult moves with the group, joining the older animals as they settle gently onto the cool earth. Shadows lengthen across the valley floor, stretching long and dark over the meandering stream, while the gentle wind carries the fading warmth of the day into the high-altitude dusk. Resting here requires a specific anatomical adjustment. Like all camelids, the subadult tucks its slender legs neatly beneath its body, resting its weight upon specialized calloused pads on its chest and knees. These thick, leathery cushions protect the animal's skin from the abrasive stones and insulate its body against the rapid drop in temperature that accompanies the setting sun. With bellies comfortably full of glacial water and fibrous shrubs, the entire community sinks into a collective stillness. The constant, soothing murmur of the flowing stream blends with distant birdsong, creating a rhythmic lullaby that echoes through the quiet valley. Soft gravel crunches occasionally as a neighboring matriarch shifts her position, but otherwise, the herd remains completely motionless, conserving precious metabolic energy for the cold night ahead. The subadult lets its heavy eyelids droop, breathing slowly and deeply in sync with the tranquil rhythm of the landscape. Every muscle relaxes, relieved of the day's long trek across the parched Puna. In the sheltered riparian haven, surrounded by the quiet presence of the herd, the young camelid drifts closer to sleep, cradled by the timeless peace of the descending twilight. High upon the sweeping expanse of the high-altitude Puna, the autumn afternoon yields slowly to the quiet approach of evening. A gentle mountain wind sighs softly across the exposed ridges, carrying with it the crisp, clean scent of approaching frost. Along the winding crest of volcanic soil, a small family herd of llamas moves with deliberate, unhurried grace. Among them is a subadult llama, navigating the uneven terrain with steady, sure-footed steps as soft gravel shifts quietly beneath its padded hooves. The slanting sun dips low toward the jagged western horizon, bathing the entire landscape in a breathtaking wash of liquid amber and deep gold. Long, elegant shadows stretch far out across the rolling slopes, turning the dormant bunch grasses into threads of spun bronze. Far below, the deep valley floor slips into cool twilight, while these elevated ridges catch every final, horizontal ray of the departing daylight. The subadult pauses for a quiet moment, lifting its graceful neck to survey the tranquil world spread out beneath the heights. Through the thin, rarefied alpine air, the faint whistling of the wind over ancient rock faces creates a natural, soothing lullaby. This transitional season brings profound shifts to the high Cordillera, dropping temperatures sharply as soon as the sun dips from view. Yet, the young camelid stands entirely at ease within the environment, its physiological systems finely tuned to the rhythms of the closing day. The atmosphere holds a deep stillness, wrapping the grazing herd in a blanket of absolute peace as the long amber shadows gently settle over the mountain slopes. With the fading amber light washing over the rugged volcanic terrain, the subadult turns its attention toward the evening meal. Across the exposed ridge, patches of hardy autumn vegetation cling tenaciously to the rocky soil. The young camelid steps forward with gentle deliberation, selecting the most resilient mountain shrubs and fibrous bunch grasses that have dried beneath the golden sun. Feeding in this high-altitudinal environment requires specialized anatomical tools. The subadult relies on a uniquely adapted split upper lip, highly mobile and covered in sensitive tactile hairs, to deftly sort through abrasive foliage. This clever design allows the animal to bypass prickly stems and select only the most nutritious shoots. Once gathered, the tough plant matter is brought into the mouth, where a specialized side-to-side chewing motion begins. This rhythmic grinding thoroughly breaks down the stubborn, cellulose-rich cell walls of the autumn flora. By utilizing a 3-chambered stomach system designed to ferment fibrous roughage efficiently. The subadult extracts every possible calorie from the sparse seasonal vegetation. Slow and steady jaw movements accompany the rhythmic shifting of soft gravel beneath cautious hooves. Around the foraging youngster, low, gentle humming vocalizations ripple through the herd, a soft communication of contentment as twilight draws near. The distant rustle of dry ichu grass brushing against slender legs creates a quiet, hypnotic cadence on the mountainside. Every deliberate bite fuels the animal's internal warmth, building the vital energy reserves needed to face the dropping night temperatures. The steady, unhurried pace of the grazing ritual brings a deep, restorative calm to the darkening ridge. As the sun sinks lower and the mountain air turns crisp, nature's most sophisticated cold weather defense becomes clearly visible across the subadult's growing frame. The chill of the high-altitude evening prompts a closer look at the remarkable seasonal transformation taking place within the animal's fleece. This dense double coat is a masterpiece of biological engineering, specifically adapted for survival in the freezing Andean wilderness. The outer layer consists of long, coarse guard hairs. These resilient fibers act as a weatherproof shield, expertly shedding the biting mountain wind and any moisture that might otherwise penetrate to the skin. Beneath this protective canopy lies a marvel of insulation, a thick, incredibly soft underwool. This fine crimped fleece traps millions of microscopic air pockets close to the body, creating a highly efficient thermal barrier. Thermoregulation at this altitude demands constant biological adjustment. As the ambient temperature plummets, tiny muscles at the base of each hair follicle contract, causing the fleece to loft slightly. This action increases the volume of trapped air, enhancing the coat's insulating capacity without expending the animal's precious energy reserves. The subadult's body simply works in quiet harmony with the changing season, turning every breath of wind into an opportunity for natural warmth. Wrapped in this luxurious, naturally spun armor, the young camelid stands completely undisturbed by the gathering dusk. The thick fibers drape gracefully along the flanks, glowing with the last warm tones of amber light before fading into the peaceful embrace of twilight. Every strand of wool tells a quiet story of endurance, offering a comforting sense of security as the mountain world settles in for the night. The horizontal rays of the setting sun now sweep across the volcanic terrain, painting the towering peaks in brilliant shades of amber, copper, and rose. The alpine light stretches long and liquid over the rocky slopes, turning every ridge into a glowing ribbon of gold. Against this radiant backdrop, the llama herd becomes a series of elegant silhouettes. They move slowly and deliberately as a cohesive unit, their dark forms framed by the luminous, burning sky. The transition from day to evening happens in quiet slow motion, measured by the lengthening of shadows across the stony ground. A gentle mountain wind moves through the valley, carrying the faint, dry rustle of golden ichu grass swaying against the rocks. The ambient sounds are soft and hypnotic, the quiet brushing of vegetation, the low, comforting hum of herd members murmuring in the dusk, and the faint, airy whistle of the breeze slipping over ancient stone faces. In this hushed twilight, the subadult pauses on the crest of the ridge. The fiery light catches the tips of its thickening fleece, outlining the young camelid in a warm, glowing halo. Below, the valley floor slips deeper into purple shadows, resting peacefully as the day yields to the quiet stillness of the high-altitude night. The world grows still, blanketed in a profound, restful calm. As the amber warmth begins to fade from the upper slopes, the scattered members of the herd naturally begin to drift closer together. Their wide-ranging path narrows, pulling the family unit into a tight, comforting cluster near the crest of the ridge. This gentle consolidation reduces their individual foraging radius, a behavioral rhythm born of millions of years of evolutionary adaptation on the high Andean steppes. By gathering near one another as the temperature drops, the herd minimizes heat loss through shared proximity and collective vigilance, a subtle form of social thermoregulation. A soft, low-humming vocalization ripples gently through the assembly. This familiar, breathy resonance passes between family members, a soothing auditory anchor that reinforces social bonds and signals that the active day is drawing to a peaceful close. The sub-adult steps quietly into the center of the group, settling beside its peers. Secure in the communal presence, the young camelid drops its guard just enough to rest, though its large, velvety ears still swivel softly to catch the fading sounds of the mountain. There is no urgency here, only a deep, instinctive patience. The shifting gravel beneath their hooves falls silent as the animals ease down into the cool earth, folding their long legs beneath their heavily insulated bodies. Surrounded by the quiet solidarity of the herd, the sub-adult breathes deeply of the crisp evening air, letting the tranquil stillness of the high-altitude night wash completely over it. The vibrant golds and warm ambers of the sunset slowly dissolve into the deep, velvety blue of twilight across the high Andean plateau. The gentle mountain wind softens to a quiet sigh, sweeping smoothly over the darkening volcanic rock faces and carrying the faint, crisp scent of approaching night. Resting comfortably within the clustered herd, the sub-adult lifts its graceful head for one final, peaceful look across the sweeping valleys below. The shadows far beneath have pooled into a deep, tranquil stillness, marking the boundary where day surrenders completely to evening. Turning its body inward, the young camelid settles deeper into the cool earth, completely enveloped by the thick, insulating layers of its double coat, the dense underwool and coarse guard hairs working in quiet harmony to trap its body heat against the dropping air temperature. Slowly, the heavy eyelids begin to droop. The vast, silent expanse of the mountain breathes around them in a steady, calming rhythm, inviting the world to rest. With a final, gentle sigh, the sub-adult rests its head upon the earth, surrendering to the profound peace of the high-altitude night. The last amber embers of daylight slip behind the jagged ridges of the low volcanic hills, leaving the high Andean basin in a deep, violet hush. As twilight surrenders to the vast starlit canopy of night, the temperature plummets with astonishing speed. The thin, dry air of the Altiplano offers no blanket to hold the day's warmth, and a crisp night wind begins to sweep gently across the frost-tipped plains, carrying the distant, paper-dry rustling of tussock grass. Amidst this sweeping drop in thermal energy, a young sub-adult llama stands motionless, perfectly adapted to the abrupt transition of the seasons. Autumn on the high plateau is a time of profound physiological preparation. The sudden chill brushing against the animal's flank is met not by shivers, but by a marvelous biological readiness. Beneath the skin, millions of microscopic erector muscles adjust, causing the newly thickened fleece to fluff upward, trapping a crucial layer of insulating air against the body. The sub-adult's coat is undergoing a vital transformation, developing a dense dual-layered defense against the encroaching winter. Coarse, weather-resistant guard hairs stretch long and protective on the exterior, shielding against the biting draft, while a remarkably fine, crimped underwool begins to fill in densely underneath. This natural thermal barrier ensures that the cold remains merely an ambient sensation rather than a threat to core homeostasis. With a soft, contented exhalation that forms a fleeting plume of mist in the starlight, the young camelid shifts its weight. Fine gravel crunches softly beneath padded hooves as it prepares to join the rest of the resting herd, cradled safely within the calm contours of the shadowed basin. This remarkable fleece is a masterclass in mammalian design, forged by millennia of evolutionary adaptation to the harsh, variable extremes of the high Andes. The subadult's growing coat operates through a two-part system of specialized thermal engineering. On the outer surface, long, coarse guard hairs stand resiliently against the elements. These rigid fibers act as an effective windbreaker, deflecting the sharp drafts that sweep across the basin, while simultaneously shedding any stray moisture that drifts in on the night air. Beneath this weather-resistant canopy lies an entirely different micro-world of fine, crimped underwool. Each individual hair of this inner layer possesses microscopic curls, creating countless tiny pockets designed to trap body heat close to the skin. This trapped air serves as a thermal buffer, preventing the animal's internal warmth from escaping into the freezing night. Over the passing weeks of autumn, this dense undercoat has multiplied in volume, thickening reliably in response to the shortening daylight hours and falling temperatures. Without needing any outside protection, the young llama carries its own native defense against the cold, growing heavier and richer with every passing week. This dual-layered fleece balances breathability with extreme insulation, ensuring the subadult remains comfortable as the frost deepens. It is a quiet, biological miracle happening quietly beneath the starlight, transforming seasonal change into a season of growth and secure endurance. Guided by the steady instincts of mature adults, the herd drifts downward from the exposed slopes, navigating the familiar contours of the high plateau into a natural depression. This sheltered basin, cradled by low, ancient volcanic hills, offers a profound sanctuary from the relentless sweep of the high-altitude winds. The air within the hollow feels noticeably stiller, holding the day's fading warmth against the chill of the advancing night. Moving with unhurried grace, the animals begin to settle into the dusty earth, finding their preferred resting spots among the scattered tussock grass. One by one, the camelids ease their weight downward, folding their slender legs neatly beneath their barrel-shaped chests. They adopt the characteristic posture of sternal recumbency, resting securely on their sternum and padded foot pads. This anatomical design minimizes their exposed surface area, effectively conserving core body temperature while providing a stable, low-profile base upon the gravelly soil. The subadult follows this synchronized transition, lowering its growing frame close to the protected ground. A quiet contentment settles over the basin as the rhythmic, low-frequency sounds of rumination ripple softly through the dark. Gentle exhalations plume into the crisp air, dissolving quickly into the starlight, while the faint shifting of gravel settles into a profound and comforting stillness. Recognizing the wisdom of the group, the subadult navigates the tight constellation of resting bodies, seeking out the flank of a mature, heavily insulated female. In the biting cold of the high-altitude night, proximity is survival. By positioning itself directly beside larger herd members, the young camelid minimizes its exposure to the remaining draft threading across the basin floor. This deliberate packing together is a triumph of social thermoregulation. When multiple warm bodies rest in close sternal recumbency, they dramatically reduce their collective surface area to volume ratio. Air pockets trapped within their deepening fleeces merge, creating a stable, communal microclimate of shared heat. The frigid air is blocked by the outermost animals, insulating the interior circle where the younger and more vulnerable members rest secure. Slow, steady breaths rise from the huddling cluster, blending together in the frosty air. The subadult feels the comforting press of the mature animal against its side, a solid, living wall of warmth that anchors it through the harshest hours of the night. This ancient, social geometry of survival balances individual rest with the collective resilience of the herd. Protected by this living blanket, the subadult closes its dark eyes, lulled by the low hum of rumination and the deep, abiding safety of the group. Deep within the volcanic basin, the hours slip quietly toward dawn, enfolding the resting herd in an absolute velvet stillness. The sharp winds of earlier have subsided into a gentle hush, leaving the high-altitude air crisp and diamond clear. In this profound quiet, the nocturnal landscape comes alive with a soothing, internal rhythm. A soft, rhythmic sound begins to drift across the resting cluster, the quiet, mechanical cadence of rumination. The subadult rests comfortably in sternal recumbency, its folded legs tucked neatly beneath its warm body. Every few moments, its jaw moves in a slow, circular motion, bringing up fibrous tussock grass gathered during the evening graze. This continuous cycle of rechewing is a vital physiological adaptation, allowing the specialized three-chambered stomach to efficiently extract enduring warmth and nourishment through the coldest hours of the night. Though profoundly relaxed, the young camelid never fully surrenders to unconsciousness. Its large, dark eyes remain wide, luminous, and calm, reflecting an inherited, watchful vigilance. Long, curved lashes catch the pale starlight as the subadult periodically stirs, lifting its slender neck to scan the shadowed contours of the sheltering hills. Ears swivel effortlessly, catching the faintest whispers of the plateau, ensuring the safety of the sleeping family. Gentle exhalations rise in small, hazy wisps from soft muzzles, blending softly into the ambient night. The steady internal hum of digestion and the quiet breathing of the herd weave together into a soothing lullaby, anchoring the subadult in a deep, restorative peace until the first pale light touches the peaks. The final hours of the autumn night slip by in serene tranquility, holding the high-altitude world in a gentle, suspended pause. Across the sheltered volcanic basin, the starlight catches the dense, newly matured fleece of the herd, casting a silvery sheen over their resting forms. The subadult rests securely at the very heart of this living fortress, enveloped by the collective warmth of its family. Its thick double coat, a marvel of evolutionary design, traps a resilient layer of air against its skin, sealing out the fading chill of the plateau. Ahead lies the inevitable transition of the seasons. Soon, the pale fingers of dawn will breach the eastern ridges, painting the volcanic peaks in shades of amber and rose before revealing a landscape transformed by the first true snows of winter. When that frost arrives, it will test the hardiness of these resilient camelids once more, demanding every ounce of the metabolic endurance they have quietly built through the autumn weeks. For now, however, time moves with exquisite slowness. The young llama rests its chin gently upon the stony earth, its breathing slow and steady. There is no urgency in the darkness, only the quiet confidence of a well-adapted life attuned to the rhythms of the earth. The subadult closes its dark eyes for a brief, peaceful moment, trusting completely in the strength of the herd and the quiet promise of the coming morning. High above the clouds, where the breath of the world turns to mist, the high Puna has surrendered to the quiet command of winter. Over the span of a single freezing night, a heavy snowfall has draped the vast Andean plateau in an unbroken, pristine blanket of white. A gentle wind sweeps across the crust, carrying microscopic ice crystals that shimmer like diamond dust in the dim morning air. As the pale dawn breaks over jagged, snow-capped peaks, the landscape rests in profound stillness. There are no tracks upon this fresh expanse, save for the whisper of the breeze and the distant echoing crack of mountain ice settling in the deep ravines. The ambient air is sharp and biting, plunging far below freezing, yet the high-altitude ecosystem holds its breath in quiet anticipation of the sun. Nestled against the lee of a sheltered rocky outcrop, a herd of adult llamas lies in sternal recumbency, their bodies folded neatly beneath them to conserve precious core heat. A fine dusting of white powder rests lightly across their heavy, insulated flanks, perfectly mirroring the untouched drifts around them. Slowly, the stillness shifts. A low, resonant humming vocalization ripples softly through the group, a comforting vibration shared between companions, The lead adult shifts its weight, blinking heavy, dark eyes against the morning glare, and begins to rise from the snow. With a gentle shake of its powerful neck, a cascade of loose powder scatters into the crisp air, revealing a magnificent coat of dense, protective fibers designed by evolution to master the harshest alpine extremes. That rising movement reveals the true masterpiece of high-altitude survival, a magnificent dual-layered fleece engineered by millennia of evolution. The adult llama's winter coat operates as a sophisticated biological defense system against the biting sub-zero gale. Standing upright in the pale dawn light, the animal displays an outer barrier of long, coarse guard hairs. These resilient fibers are naturally water repellent, designed to shed blowing snow and deflect freezing winds before they can penetrate the skin. Beneath this weatherproof outer shield lies an extraordinary layer of soft, fine underwool. This dense downy fleece traps millions of microscopic air pockets close to the body, creating a highly efficient thermal barrier for advanced thermoregulation. Because air is a poor conductor of heat, this trapped layer acts as personal insulation, successfully preventing the llama's core body heat from escaping into the freezing alpine atmosphere. Even as the morning frost clings to the tips of the coarse outer fibers, shimmering softly in the pale light, the skin beneath remains warm and protected. The morphology of this dual-density fleece allows the camelid to maintain its optimal internal temperature effortlessly, requiring no shelter other than its own remarkable skin. Standing in the silent, snow-blanketed landscape, the adult llama embodies total comfort amidst the harshest seasonal extremes, perfectly adapted to the demanding rhythms of the high mountain world. With a gentle shift of its weight, the adult llama prepares to test the newly frozen terrain. It stretches its long, graceful neck forward, gazing out across the shimmering white expanse where overnight frost has locked the soil in a hard, icy grip. The animal takes its very first step, placing its weight down with deliberate, quiet care upon the crystalline crust. Unlike other mountain ungulates equipped with hard, rigid hooves that can easily skid across slick surfaces, this camelid relies on a uniquely specialized foot morphology. The underside of each foot features a broad, leathery, and remarkably flexible pad. As the llama steps forward, these resilient pads compress and mold themselves directly to the uneven contours of the frozen ground. This anatomical adaptation provides exceptional traction, gripping the slick ice and packed snow with quiet reliability. Two independent toes, each tipped with a blunt, curved nail, move flexibly within the soft pad, further enhancing stability. Instead of punching narrow holes into the snow crust that might lead to slipping, the broad surface area of the foot distributes the animal's weight evenly across the powdery top layer. The soft crunch of snow beneath those padded soles offers a steady, rhythmic cadence in the quiet morning air. With each unhurried stride, the foot adapts effortlessly to the hidden irregularities of the alpine floor, ensuring absolute balance without a single faltering movement. The llama glides across the frozen basin with absolute confidence, its specialized locomotion turning a potentially treacherous winter path into a smooth, effortless journey through the silent, snow-draped highlands. A few paces away, another member of the herd materializes out of the drifting pale mist, stepping carefully toward the adult llama. Soon, the scattered family group converges upon a wind-scoured slope where the persistent alpine gale has swept the snow thinnest. Here, natural instincts for social cohesion take over, guiding the animals into a tight, protective huddle. By standing in close physical proximity, the herd members significantly reduce their individual exposure to the freezing wind, creating a shared microclimate of warmth. This communal clustering relies on simple yet effective thermodynamic principles. Huddled bodies minimize surface area exposed to the biting frost, lowering overall heat loss across the entire group. Soft, low-humming vocalizations pass quietly between the animals, a gentle resonant sound that carries very little distance in the crisp, cold air. This subtle acoustic communication reinforces social bonds and brings a deep sense of calm to the waking group. The adult llama leans slightly against a trusted companion, feeling the steady rhythm of familiar breathing and the comforting radiation of shared body heat. In the vast, silent expanse of the high Puna, this quiet unity provides essential psychological reassurance alongside tangible physiological benefits. The deep winter morning deepens in its stillness, but surrounded by family. The herd stands serene, anchored together against the harshest season of the alpine year. Rising slightly above the huddled group, the adult llama lifts its long neck, tilting its head toward the waking sky. Its large, banana-shaped ears swivel independently, catching the faint, whistling sigh of the gentle wind sweeping across the upper slopes. The animal's dark, luminous eyes survey the vast horizon with steady, unhurried grace. Far in the distance, ancient volcanic cones pierce the pale blue expanse of the morning atmosphere, their frozen peaks catching the very first amber rays of the rising sun. This quiet vigilance is an instinctive behavioral adaptation, a constant low-energy scanning that allows the adult to monitor the high-altitude ecosystem for any subtle shifts in the environment or potential signs of movement from the distant predators. The profound stillness of the dawn settles over the landscape, broken only by the occasional soft crunch of shifting snow and the low, resonant humming that continues to drift between the resting animals. There is no panic in this vigilance, only a deep, meditative awareness. The adult's nervous system remains balanced, regulating its heart rate and conserving vital energy even while fully alert. Every breath forms a small plume of warm vapor in the freezing air, quickly dissipating into the crystalline morning light. Anchored in the present moment, the llama stands as an integral part of the alpine wilderness, perfectly attuned to the rhythms of the high Puna. Its calm demeanor reflects a profound resilience, embodying the quiet endurance required to thrive in this stark, beautiful winter realm where peace and survival exist in perfect, delicate equilibrium. As the pale sun ascends higher into the winter sky, casting long indigo shadows across the pristine drifts, the atmosphere undergoes a subtle shift. The ambient chill remains profound, yet the morning light brings a gentle warmth that coaxes the gathered herd into motion. With quiet cooperation, the animals begin to rise fully from their resting places, shedding the last vestiges of overnight sleep. The adult llama steps forward to lead the way, setting a deliberate, measured pace. A slow, single-file procession forms naturally behind it, winding gracefully across the rolling contours of the white expanse. Each member of the group places its specialized, two-toed feet carefully into the depressions left by the leader, conserving precious energy by treading upon already compressed terrain. Their destination is the higher, windswept ridges where the fierce alpine gales have scoured the earth clean of deep drifts. Here, the snow cover is thin enough to expose the tough, dormant grasses essential for survival. This strategic relocation is driven by an intricate understanding of the microclimate, an ecological instinct honed over generations. As they approach the wind-buffeted slopes, the adults prepare for the daily challenge of foraging, scraping away the remaining layer of powdery frost to uncover the hidden sustenance beneath the ice. The low humming sounds transition into soft, rhythmic breathing as the herd converges on the rocky ground, ready to embrace the quiet labor of the waking day. A pale, winter sun rises slowly over the high Andean ridge, casting a weak, golden light across a landscape locked in frost. Freezing gales sweep continuously across the exposed heights, carrying away the deepest drifts and leaving behind a thin, hard crust of snow and ice. Standing quietly against the biting wind, an adult llama surveys the frozen expanse. Its heavy, double-layered winter coat is frosted with tiny ice crystals, acting as a supreme thermal barrier against the sub-zero temperatures. Deep within this dense fleece, specialized guard hairs repel the chill while a fine, insulating undercoat traps precious body heat, allowing the animal to maintain a steady core temperature without expending vital energy. The crisp winter wind whispers softly across the barren rocks, accompanied by the faint, low humming of other herd members scattered nearby. The ambient soundscape is delicate yet stark, the sharp crunch of brittle ice beneath a shifted hoof and the soft shuffling of surface snow as the adult takes a slow, deliberate step forward. In the distance, a high-altitude bird calls out once before fading into the vast stillness of the peaks. Survival here demands absolute efficiency. With every breath pluming into the freezing morning air, the llama relies on physiological adaptations refined over millennia. Its oversized heart and high concentration of red blood cells efficiently deliver oxygen through the thin mountain atmosphere, sustaining the animal through the grueling winter months when nourishment is sparse. Pausing to let its keen eyes sweep the frosted terrain, the adult prepares to seek out the hidden sustenance resting just beneath the frozen crust. Survival in this stark alpine theater relies entirely on evolutionary design, particularly in the tools the animal uses to gather its meager meals. As the llama lowers its head toward the frosted earth, the remarkable mechanics of its mouth become apparent. Unlike livestock with rigid muzzles, this adult possesses a deeply split upper lip. Divided neatly down the center, each muscular half moves with delicate, independent precision. This specialized anatomy allows the animal to delicately part the abrasive surface ice, brushing it aside with tactile sensitivity while keeping tender tissues safe from sharp crystals. Beneath this gentle sweeping motion, the llama's feet provide an equally sophisticated advantage. The limbs end in broad, two-toed feet featuring leathery pads on the underside rather than hard, rigid hooves. As the animal steps forward with a soft shuffling of snow, these resilient pads compress flexibly against the frozen ground. They distribute the heavy body weight evenly, offering secure traction on slick patches of ice without tearing or crushing the fragile, dormant root system sleeping beneath the earth. This low-impact locomotion protects the delicate alpine ecology, ensuring that the precious vegetation can return when the warmth of spring finally arrives. Every slow, deliberate movement is calibrated to conserve energy, utilizing specialized anatomy as a quiet bridge across the harshest months of the year. With the surface frost gently brushed away, the hidden treasures of the volcanic soil are finally revealed. The llama's sensitive muzzle hovers just above the earth, seeking out the tightly curled stems of dormant bunchgrass and the silvery crusts of hardy mountain lichens clinging to the stones. These resilient organisms have adapted to endure extreme ultraviolet radiation and deep freezes, locking complex carbohydrates within their rigid cell walls. To unlock this sparse nourishment, the adult employs a specialized dental array, while sharp incisors on the lower jaw press firmly against a hardened upper dental pad. The animal snips away tough vegetation with precise efficiency. Every slow, rhythmic chew begins a complex internal journey. As a specialized three-chambered ruminant, the llama relies on a sophisticated fermentation vat teeming with specialized microbes. These microscopic partners break down tough, fibrous winter cellulose that would otherwise pass through unabsorbed, extracting every last calorie of vital energy needed to maintain core body temperature. This slow, methodical digestive processing takes time, unfolding in quiet harmony with the surrounding landscape. The low, rumbling hum of a nearby herd member drifts on the crisp winter wind, a comforting resonance across the frosted slope. Each deliberate bite sustains the animal against the sub-zero chill, turning humble mountain plants into enduring strength. Deep within the llama's multi-chambered stomach, a quiet internal furnace burns steadily through the morning hours. The fibrous stems and resilient lichens swallowed moments ago now enter a specialized fermentation chamber, completely unique to this resilient Andean mammal. Here, A vast community of dedicated microorganisms begins the slow chemical labor of breaking down tough plant cell walls. Unlike single-chambered herbivores, the ruminant design allows food to be regurgitated, rechewed as cud, and swallowed once more. This secondary chewing pulverizes the cellulose even further, maximizing the surface area exposed to microbial action. Through this intricate process of fermentation, complex carbohydrates are transformed into volatile fatty acids, which pass easily through the stomach lining directly into the bloodstream. This efficient internal recycling system ensures that nothing is wasted. Even when winter vegetation offers sparse and seemingly meager nourishment, the llama's digestive tract extracts the absolute maximum amount of metabolic energy and internal warmth. No precious calories escape this biological refinement. As the morning deepens over the high mountain pass, the animal stands quietly, eyes half closed against the gentle glare of the sun on snow. Inside the body, a steady, internal warmth radiates outward, generated entirely from the humble plants of the frozen earth. The gentle, rhythmic movement of the jaw ceases for a peaceful moment, leaving only the soft whisper of the wind sweeping across the ridge and the quiet, contented breathing of the herd resting nearby in harmonious balance with the stark, wintry world. Not far away, other members of the herd follow this steady lead across the windswept slope, maintaining respectful, calming distances from one another as they work the frozen ground. This loose spacing ensures that each adult has ample room to sweep aside crusty snow without competing directly for the same patch of buried bunchgrass. Subtle ear movements and soft, low humming drift softly through the chilly air, serving as gentle anchors of social cohesion. A flick of an ear or a soft, resonant vocalization communicates location and tranquility, binding the scattered group together against the vast, empty backdrop of the high altitude. There is no urgency in their movements, only a collective, quiet rhythm that has endured across generations. As the group drifts slowly along the contour of the ridge, their padded feet leave faint impressions in the shallow snow. They move as one fluid entity, guided by ancient instincts that favor cooperation and shared vigilance. Whenever one animal pauses to break through a stubborn patch of ice, the others naturally slow their pace, honoring a silent agreement of mutual support. This quiet coordination preserves precious energy, avoiding needless stress in a landscape where every calorie counts. The morning sun climbs higher, casting long, peaceful shadows across the white earth while the herd continues its gentle, unhurried progression toward the shelter of the lower ravine. High above the valleys, the pale morning light shifts, washing the frozen landscape in a softer, golden hue. The adult llama pauses, lifting its long, elegant neck from the frosted ground. A gentle exhale forms a small, warm cloud in the crisp winter air. The successful foraging session is winding down. For hours, specialized digestion has been quietly at work within the animal's three-chambered stomach, slowly extracting essential nutrients and converting tough, fibrous roots into steady, internal warmth. This metabolic efficiency allows the llama to thrive where other mammals would falter, turning sparse mountain vegetation into vital energy. Around the adult, the rest of the herd begins to mirror the motion, raising their heads to survey the widening expanse. The low, rumbling hums fade into a peaceful quiet, save for the steady sigh of the winter wind sweeping across the ridge. Their thick, insulating fleece catches the bright light, glowing softly against the pale snow. With unhurried grace, the adult turns its gaze toward the rocky windbreaks and sheltered ravines waiting below. The morning chill is beginning to yield to the midday stillness, inviting a slower rhythm. One by one, the animals adjust their direction, stepping lightly down the slope in a loose, harmonious procession. Each soft placement of a padded foot marks the end of the morning's labor and the beginning of a calm, restorative rest among the protective stones. High upon the sweeping expanse of the Andean Altiplano, the afternoon sun hangs pale and diminished, filtering its weak rays through a vast, thinning vault of azure. Across this high-altitude desert, known locally as the Puna, a sudden meteorological shift begins to unfold. A low, heavy bank of slate-gray clouds crests the distant volcanic peaks, rolling swiftly across the windswept plains like a slow-moving tide. With this approaching winter squall comes a sharp, noticeable drop in temperature. Frigid air spills down from the glaciated summits, sweeping delicate flurries of powdery snow across the dormant, frost-tipped bunchgrass. The landscape, moments ago bathed in a harsh yet steady light, softens under the creeping shadows of the storm. Amidst the sparse, resilient vegetation stands a mature adult llama. The animal's senses are finely tuned to the rhythms of this unforgiving ecosystem. Beneath a dense outer coat of coarse guard hairs and a remarkably fine, insulating underlayer of lanolin-rich fleece, the llama perceives the subtle drop in barometric pressure. Its long, mobile ears pivot toward the gathering gale, registering the low-frequency hum of the wind sweeping across the jagged terrain. Evolution has shaped this camelid for the extremes of high-altitude survival. A specialized circulatory system, rich in hemoglobin with a high affinity for oxygen, sustains the adult effortlessly in the thin, freezing air. Lifting its noble head, the llama gazes toward the horizon, anchoring the rest of the family group with its serene composure. Without a sound, this quiet gesture signals the herd that it is time to move, initiating a collective journey away from the exposed plateau and toward the sanctuary of the stone ravines. Guided by accumulated generational memory etched deep within the social fabric of the family group, the herd begins to move in a deliberate, single-file line. They follow ancient, well-worn pathways that curve gently downward, leaving the exposed tableland behind as they approach the rim of a deep volcanic ravine. Walking near the middle back of the procession, the adult llama serves as a steady anchor for the group. Its foot anatomy is uniquely suited for this treacherous terrain. Unlike the hard hooves of introduced livestock, the llama possesses two-toed feet with leathery soles and flexible, gripping nails. Beneath these padded toes, the delicate digital cushions compress naturally over slick, frost-covered stones, providing exceptional traction where other animals would stumble. The atmosphere along the trail is intensely quiet, save for the rising hiss of the wind sweeping across the gully and the rhythmic crunch of snow beneath steady feet. Each member of the herd places its steps carefully, trusting the wisdom of the collective pace. The older female leading the way chooses the most gradual descents, while the adult llama behind scans the rocky slopes, ensuring no younger animal loses its footing in the deepening cold. As they descend deeper between the towering stone walls, the biting force of the gale begins to soften, deflected by the massive geological formations. The shadows lengthen across the gray and ochre rock faces, embracing the travelers in a tranquil, sheltered corridor where the enduring resilience of the herd meets the quiet promise of ancient stone. The procession moves deeper into the recess, arriving at a wide, natural stone alcove carved over millennia by ancient winds and rushing meltwater. Sheltered securely on three towering sides by reddish-brown volcanic walls, this geological sanctuary offers immediate, profound relief from the biting gales screaming across the alpine plateau above. Inside the alcove, the air is still and markedly warmer, trapped against the sun-baked stone. One by one, the herd members begin to settle, folding their slender legs smoothly beneath their bulky, insulating wool coats. This posture, known as sternal recumbency, allows the animals to tuck their extremities close to their core, minimizing exposed surface area. Their specialized double-layered fleece, comprising a fine, Dense down undercoat and coarser guard hairs traps a thick layer of still air against the skin, providing exceptional natural thermal resistance against the cold ground. The gentle, rhythmic crunch of gravel fades as each camelid lowers its chest to the earth. A soft shuffling of heavy wool coats echoes quietly off the weathered stone walls, accompanied by the occasional low, reassuring hum vibrating deep within their chests. They press close together in the shared space, creating a communal microclimate of shared body heat that steadily drives away the lingering chill of the storm. Resting against the protective lee of the towering volcanic facade, the herd finds complete tranquility. The howling wind overhead is reduced to a distant, muffled sigh, sweeping harmlessly across the stone rim far above, while the animals drift into a state of deep, restorative rest within the ancient shelter of the mountains. Demonstrating the quiet leadership characteristic of prime adults, the llama remains standing near the exposed opening of the ravine. While the rest of the family group finds rest deeper within the alcove, this experienced male positions himself deliberately on the windward side, acting as a natural living windbreak. His large frame intercepts the swirling drafts before they can reach the vulnerable members of the herd. His dense double coat, a marvel of evolutionary design, absorbs the brunt of the icy gales. The coarse guard hairs deflect blowing snow and wind shear, while the ultrafine undercoat locks in core warmth, allowing him to endure the freezing blast without faltering. Younger animals, whose own thermal defenses are still developing, press close against his warm flank. They find profound security and vital thermal protection within the absolute lee of his larger body, shielded from the biting chill of the high-altitude winter. This altruistic positioning highlights the complex social bonds and cooperative thermoregulation that sustain alpine camelids through the harshest months. By taking on the harshest elements, the adult ensures the survival and comfort of the younger generation. Outside, the storm continues its relentless sweep across the plateau, but within this intimate sanctuary, the atmosphere is tranquil. The adult lets out a low, deep hum, a resonant vibration that travels through his chest and reassures the resting herd. Surrounded by steady strength and shared warmth, the young drift deeper into peace, cradled by the enduring resilience of the mountains. Inside the recessed stone alcove, the chaotic fury of the high-altitude blizzard is softened into a distant, muffled hum. The howling gales sweeping across the open Puna can no longer reach this quiet sanctuary, leaving only a gentle, rhythmic stirring of the air. Standing sentinel at the outer edge, the adult llama lowers his long, graceful neck. His large, dark eyes remain half-closed, reflecting a profound, unshakable calm amidst the swirling frost. From deep within his chest, the animal emits a soft, low-frequency hum, a gentle, vibrating resonance that travels through the dense wool of his flank and echoes reassuringly against the ancient rock. This familiar auditory cue acts as a soothing anchor for the surrounding herd members, signaling safety and enduring stability. The young rest peacefully nearby, their breathing steady and slow, lulled by the comforting warmth of shared bodies and the unwavering presence of their protector. As he stands motionless against the biting chill, a fascinating biological process quietly unfolds within. Lacking true hooves, his two-toed feet resting securely on the frozen ground, his specialized digestive system continues its efficient work. Through rumination, the slow, rhythmic chewing of cud, the adult begins processing internal reserves, extracting vital energy from tough alpine grasses to fuel his internal furnace. His specialized, oval-shaped red blood cells, uniquely adapted to bind oxygen efficiently at high elevations, keep his muscles oxygenated and relaxed even in the freezing air. Hour by endless hour, he holds his ground without a tremor of impatience. The storm outside begins to soften, its fierce edge dulling into a gentle cascade of drifting snowflakes. Within the sheltered ravine, there is only stillness, patience, and the quiet, magnificent resilience of life thriving at the top of the world. Slowly, the fierce pressure of the mountain gale lifts. The storm front pushes eastward across the Cordillera, leaving behind a pristine crust of fresh, glittering snow upon the jagged peaks. With the departure of the heavy clouds, the fading winter sun breaks through, casting a pale, luminous violet alpenglow across the ancient stone walls of the ravine. The adult llama shifts his weight carefully upon the frozen ground, flexing his strong joints. He shakes his head, sending a light dusting of sparkling snow cascading from his thick, insulating fleece. His dense coat, composed of a coarse guard hair overcoat and a remarkably fine underdown, has successfully trapped his body heat throughout the tempest. Now, as the ambient air turns to quiet stillness, he steps gently back from his exposed post, allowing the younger herd members to settle deeper into their resting places for the approaching night. The crisp, high-altitude air grows colder as twilight descends, but the herd remains enveloped in a gentle, ambient warmth. The adult stands near the mouth of the alcove once more, his silhouette framed against the deep indigo of the evening sky. His steady heart beats slowly and efficiently, circulating oxygenated blood through a circulatory system finely tuned to the thin, freezing atmosphere of the high Andes. A profound hush settles over the rocky sanctuary. The distant, settling crack of surface ice echoes faintly from the slopes above, blending with the soft, contented sighs of resting camelids. The day's trials dissolve into the tranquil, blue-toned dusk, offering a deep, restorative peace at the top of the world. Across the vast expanse of the high Altiplano, the winter sun begins its slow, majestic descent toward the jagged western Cordillera. The air, thin and crisp at 4,000 meters above sea level, carries the sharp chill of approaching night. Yet, for a few breathtaking moments, the fading light ignites the ancient volcanic peaks in brilliant shades of amber, rose, and deep violet. Standing quietly upon an elevated, wind-scoured ridge, a senior adult llama surveys the sweeping valley below. Unlike the younger, more energetic members of the herd who continue to forage eagerly among the frost-cured bunchgrasses, this veteran of the Puna remains still. Decades of life at this extreme altitude have honed a profound metabolic adaptation. Its body, operating on a slower, more efficient resting rate, conserves precious energy as the temperature plummets. A gentle wind sweeps across the plateau, rustling the dry, golden ichu grass with a soft, papery sigh. The distant, lonely call of a high-altitude waterbird drifts up from a frozen bog far below, mingling with the muffled, rhythmic crunch of gravel beneath distant hooves. The senior animal does not flinch. Its large, dark eyes, clouded only slightly by the natural films of advanced age, gaze out across the expansive basin where its entire life has unfolded, every ravine traversed, every winter storm weathered, every grazing route memorized. Around its muzzle, the thick fleece has turned a distinguished, frosted white, a visual testament to the passage of many seasons. Breathing steadily, the old camelid absorbs the last lingering warmth of the day, perfectly integrated into the ancient rhythms of the land. Up close, the anatomy of this enduring camelid tells the story of a long life lived in balance with the elements. Decades of navigating steep, rocky slopes and enduring sub-zero temperatures have left their gentle imprint upon its form. The once dense, coarse outer guard hairs of its winter coat have softened, weathering into a plush, fleece-like mantle that offers reliable insulation against the biting mountain chill. Every movement is now a study in economy and deliberate grace. The cartilage within its joints, worn smooth by thousands of miles of purposeful wandering, calls for a slower, more measured cadence. Where a yearling might bound across the uneven terrain, this elder places each padded, two-toed foot with careful precision, minimizing unnecessary exertion. Its heartbeat remains calm and steady, perfectly tuned to the low oxygen pressures of the high plateau. Around its dark, expressive nostrils and across its sloping snout, a delicate silver frosting has bloomed over the years. This pale, distinguished mask is a physiological record of countless sunrises and harsh winter gales. The skin beneath is resilient, shaped by evolutionary adaptations that maximize oxygen transport in the thin air, keeping the senior animal warm and vital even as the ambient temperature drops. A quiet, low-pitched camelid hum vibrates softly in the deep chest of the veteran, a gentle, rumbling note that blends seamlessly with the whispering wind. This familiar vocalization carries no urgency, only a tranquil acknowledgement of the present moment, resting its weight evenly across its limbs. The old llama stands as a living archive of the Puna, its body a masterpiece of biological endurance shaped by the quiet passage of time. As the violet dusk deepens over the high plateau, the scattered forms of the herd begin to drift inward, converging around the elevated ridge where the elder stands. Younger adults and sub-adults, guided by an innate social cohesion, slowly shorten the distance between themselves and the senior animal. This deliberate gathering is a testament to the intricate herd dynamics that govern camelid society, where multi-generational bonds provide both physical warmth and psychological security against the vulnerabilities of age. With unhurried, synchronized steps, a younger female approaches the veteran's left flank, offering a brief, gentle press of her shoulder against his. This subtle tactile contact is a cornerstone of social bonding in the high Andes, reinforcing community ties without demanding excess energy. Beside her, a sub-adult stops to graze lightly on the frost-cured bunchgrass, its head dipping low before turning back to share the quiet space. Low-frequency humming notes begin to ripple through the gathering circle, a chorus of soft, resonant vibrations passing from chest to chest. These low acoustic frequencies act as an anchor, calming the nervous systems of the entire group as the temperature plummets. The senior llama responds with a deeper, answering rumble, his posture relaxing further as the concentric ring of familiar bodies closes in. Surrounded by the warmth and steady breathing of its kin, the veteran feels no need to patrol or lead. The herd has instinctively formed a protective, communal buffer, honoring the enduring presence of its most experienced member in the deepening mountain night. Below the ridge, the vast expanse of the Altiplano unfolds in layers of shadow and lingering amber light. Across this immense basin, glacial streams carve silver ribbons through the valley floor, their icy waters fed by ancient snowpacks that the veteran has witnessed thaw and refreeze through countless seasonal cycles. Every rocky outcrop, every sheltered swale, and every patch of salt-crusted earth holds the memory of a journey taken. Survival in the high Puna requires a profound, embodied ecological knowledge, an internal map forged over years of enduring severe winter blizzards, prolonged droughts, and shifting foraging routes. The senior llama's mind holds the silent history of this landscape. He remembers the locations of deep-rooted scrub that stay green beneath the snow, and the thermal properties of specific wind-shadowed valleys where the herd could shelter when the temperature plummeted below freezing. This deep integration with the ecosystem is a masterclass in metabolic adaptation. To have thrived here for so many years means his physiology learned to conserve every calorie, tuning his heartbeat and respiration to the thin, oxygen-poor air of 4,000 meters. Each winter tests the limits of senescence, yet his body has learned the quiet art of endurance, operating with the measured efficiency of an animal perfectly attuned to the rhythms of the earth. As the last rays of sunlight retreat up the snowy flanks of distant volcanic peaks, the panoramic view softens into shades of indigo and slate. The land is ancient, enduring, and indifferent, yet the veteran belongs to it completely. Every breath he takes is synchronized with the dry wind whispering through the bunch grass below, binding his long life to the eternal heartbeat of the Andes. Above the high Andean basin, the sky surrenders its brilliant amber fire to the quiet majesty of alpenglow. Light clings for a fleeting moment to the glacial summits, painting the towering peaks in hues of bruised rose and brilliant coral before dissolving into a wash of deep violet. The transition is profoundly peaceful, marking the daily deceleration of the mountain biome. As dusk deepens into indigo, the sharp, whistling gusts of the afternoon yield to a much softer, gentler breeze. This ambient breath of air ripples smoothly across the brittle ichu bunchgrass, producing a faint, rhythmic rustling sound like pages turning in a quiet room. The temperature drops rapidly, a standard atmospheric response to the high altitude and low humidity of the Puna, where the Earth's meager warmth escapes quickly into the cloudless stratosphere. In response to this nocturnal cooling, the senior llama's physiology makes its nightly metabolic shift. His respiration slows and deepens, conserving vital internal heat, while his resting heart rate steadies into a low, predictable cadence. This natural conservation of energy is the cornerstone of senescent survival in camelids, allowing the aging body to maintain homeostasis through the freezing hours ahead without expending precious fat reserves. Bathed in the cool, lavender twilight, the surrounding landscape grows hushed. The distant call of a high-altitude waterbird fades away into the gathering shadows. The world contracts from a vast, sunlit panorama into a secure, intimate circle of resting companions, cradled by the whispering grass and the deepening stillness of the alpine night. Drifting into the final phase of the day, the senior llama bends his forelegs with careful precision. With a soft, deliberate shift of his weight, he lowers his heavy frame onto the frost-dusted earth, settling comfortably into sternal recumbency. His slender limbs tuck neatly beneath his thick chest, enveloped by layers of dense, insulating wool that trap his remaining body heat against the evening chill. Around him, the rest of the herd mirrors his posture, forming a cohesive cluster of quiet silhouettes upon the plateau. A younger female presses her flank gently against his side, offering a wordless reassurance born of deep social bonding. In response, a low, resonant camelid hum vibrates softly in the senior's chest, a low-frequency vocalization that reverberates through the dry air, anchoring the family group in shared security. Above, the canopy of the southern sky deepens into velvet black, and the first brilliant stars begin to puncture the darkness. The crisp, clean air smells faintly of frozen dust and dormant bunchgrass, carrying the silent promise of a deep, restorative rest. As his eyelids grow heavy, the veteran of the Puna surrenders entirely to gravity and peace. His breathing matches the slow, rhythmic sweep of the wind across the valley floor, bridging the ancient cycle of life with the quiet stillness of the sleeping mountain. High above the timberline, where the jagged peaks of the Andes dissolve into the vast velvet of space, winter claims the Puna in a profound and utter hush. Dusk surrenders to the deep hours of midnight, and with it, the high plateau experiences a swift, plummeting descent in temperature. As the ambient air cools, moisture freezes instantly upon the blade-like tips of the ichu grass, encrusting the snow-draped earth in a delicate, glittering armor of rime frost. In this rarefied atmosphere, where atmospheric pressure is low and oxygen molecules are sparse, the physiology of the high-altitude camelid adapts with marvelous efficiency. The elderly llama's specialized hemoglobin, forged over a lifetime of seasons, quietly regulates its circulation to conserve core warmth against the bitter chill. There is no wind to disturb the stillness, only a gentle, fleeting breath of air skimming over the crystalline snowbanks, carrying with it the faint, dry echo of the distant night wind brushing against ancient stone. Occasionally, the sudden contraction of freezing moisture causes a distant frost crack to ripple through the rocky outcrops, a sharp, metallic sound that quickly swallows itself in the immense expanse of open space. Beneath the magnificent canopy of the southern constellations, the world holds its breath. The silence is not merely an absence of sound, but a heavy, restorative blanket that settles over the valleys and ridges alike. It is the pure, undisturbed quiet of the roof of the world, where every living thing rests in perfect harmony with the timeless rhythms of the earth, waiting beneath the eternal stars. Within this pristine amphitheater of winter, the safety of the herd provides an ancient, restorative sanctuary. Social cohesion is the ultimate survival strategy for camelids navigating the high Puna, where kinship and proximity offer both thermal insulation and profound psychological comfort. The elderly llama lowers its weight, folding its slender legs gracefully beneath its barrel to settle into sternal recumbency. This posture, perfected over a lifetime of resting on uneven terrain, anchors the animal securely to the frozen soil while minimizing heat loss from its vulnerable underbelly. Around the veteran male, the family group draws inward, forming a tight, protective crescent. Younger adults and resilient females press close, their thick, lanolin-rich fleece interlocking to create a shared microclimate against the sub-zero frost. This communal huddling behavior significantly reduces individual metabolic expenditure, a vital adaptation for an aging animal whose joints and muscles have known countless miles of upland trails. In the heart of the resting formation, the boundaries between individual bodies blur into a single warm organism of fur and bone. No words pass between them, only the quiet reassurance of presence. Through the dense wool, the senior llama feels the steady, synchronized cadence of neighboring heartbeats and the gentle, rhythmic rising and falling of ribs. This collective respiration creates a low, soothing hum of life, a tactile reminder of belonging to an unbroken lineage that has traversed these wind-scoured ridges for millennia. Enveloped by the familiar sense of damp wool and dry earth, and cushioned by the steady warmth of trusted companions, the veteran rests in absolute peace. Above the resting herd, the winter sky opens into a magnificent, breathless abyss. Stripped of atmospheric moisture by the extreme altitude and sub-zero temperatures, the thin, unpolluted air of the high Puna acts as an invisible lens, revealing the universe in startling, crystalline clarity. The Southern Cross tilts gracefully above the jagged silhouette of volcanic peaks, while the Milky Way stretches like a luminous river of crushed silver across the dark expanse of the cosmos. In this rarefied realm, 4,000 meters above sea level, the boundary between earth and sky softens. The ancient snowfields catch the faint, blue-white luminescence of distant stars, casting a gentle, spectral glow over the sleeping landscape. This celestial canopy has watched over countless generations of camelids, providing a silent, unchanging compass for life on the plateau. The individual life of the senior llama, with all its seasons of migration, challenge, and quiet endurance, mirrors the grand, cyclical rhythms turning overhead. Just as the stars follow their ancient orbits, the rhythm of birth, maturity, and rest persists across the high ridges in an unbroken ecological continuum. Every breath exhaled by the resting herd warms the frozen air, briefly joining the vast circulating currents of the mountain atmosphere before dissolving into the starry night. In the profound quiet, the vastness of the cosmos feels neither distant nor indifferent, but intimately connected to the beating hearts below. The mountain peaks stand as steadfast guardians of memory, holding the history of the trails within their stone and ice. Underneath this eternal vault of starlight, the high Andes rest in a state of grace, cradled by the quiet turning of the earth and the timeless peace of the winter night. From the trembling first steps taken on a sun-warmed spring morning years ago to the wise, slow stewardship of this winter night, the arc of a single life traces the deeper patterns of the high plateau. That initial spring dawn, filled with the vulnerable vitality of a newborn calf finding its footing on gravelly soil, set into motion a profound biological journey. Through seasons of drought and torrential summer monsoons, through the rich grazing of lush valley bogs and the stark, windswept austerity of high-altitude passes, every adaptation was forged by the crucible of the Puna. This individual existence has been sustained by remarkable physiological designs honed across millennia. Specialized hemoglobin molecules evolved to efficiently bind and transport oxygen through thin mountain air, powered every climb up steep ridges and every swift evasion from danger. Thick, lanolin-rich fleece provided reliable thermal insulation against bitter winds, shielding a body that grew resilient, weathered, and ultimately serene. Each scar and silvered hair upon the muzzle tells a quiet story of endurance, marking the passage from boundless youth to the measured, deliberate movements of senior adulthood. Yet, this life was never solitary. It was perpetually anchored within the cooperative fabric of the herd, where social bonds provided both physical warmth and psychological security. To age within this camelid society is to become a living archive of the landscape, carrying the spatial memory of ancestral trails, safe sleeping sites, and hidden water sources through changing years. Now, as the winter frost settles deeper into the snowpack, the circle draws gently closed. The journey that began in the sudden bright light of a spring sunrise merges seamlessly into the quiet, starlit permanence of the high Andes, complete and at peace. Across the snow-draped Puna, a profound stillness takes hold, broken only by the faint, crystalline echo of a distant frost crack and the gentle slide of a breeze over packed powder. Within the huddling warmth of the resting herd, physiological calm reigns absolute. Senior joints, long adapted to the unforgiving terrain, find complete relief in sternal recumbency, supported by the shared thermal mass of kin. In the hushed dark, respiration slows to a matching, rhythmic cadence. The rise and fall of heavy, fiber-insulated flanks occurs in unison, creating a soft, collective whisper that blends with the subtle shifting of gravel beneath the snow. This shared breathing is more than mere rest. It is the living pulse of camelid physiology attuned to the thin, pure air of the high altitude. Specialized lungs and oxygen-rich blood operate at a gentle, resting baseline, conserving energy against the winter freeze. Surrounded by the comforting presence of the herd, the elderly llama relaxes deeper into the earth. The individual breath merges seamlessly with the broader breath of the ecosystem, a continuous cycle of renewal that spans from the ancient trails of the high Andes to the vast, glittering canopy of the southern stars above. Every heartbeat echoes the timeless rhythm of the plateau, a steady, soothing measure that has endured for generations. Here, beneath the eternal constellations, time softens and dissolves into the quiet majesty of the mountains. There is nothing left to seek, no distant ridge to cross, only the deep, restorative peace of the winter night, holding all things in a cradle of quiet, unending grace. High above the sleeping valleys, the camera slowly tilts upward, leaving the huddled shapes of the Puna behind to wander into the magnificent expanse of the southern sky. The Milky Way arches like a river of powdered silver across the freezing dark, framing the silent, snow-crowned peaks of the Andes. These ancient stone giants, forged in prehistoric fires and carved by millennia of wind and ice, stand as permanent witnesses to the slow, turning seasons. Up here, in the thin atmosphere of the high plateau, the winter stars burn with a crisp, diamond clarity, piercing the sub-zero air with steady brilliance. Down below, the herd rests in absolute, unbroken harmony. The quiet rhythm of their combined breathing continues beneath the celestial canopy, a living pulse that connects the oldest members of the troop with the newest generations yet to come. Life in this stark, beautiful wilderness is an unending circle. Every sunrise on a spring dawn, when a newborn cria first struggles to unfold its knobby legs upon the thawed grass, finds its natural counterpart in the peaceful surrender of a winter night. The journey of a single, resilient llama. From the cautious first steps of youth to the wise, steady tread of senior years is never truly lost. It is woven seamlessly into the vast ecological tapestry of the high altitude, absorbed by the soil, carried on the mountain breeze, and mirrored in the eternal march of the constellations. The wind fades entirely, leaving a velvet stillness that drapes across the snow-draped plateau. There is only the starlight, the quiet earth, and the enduring peace of the mountains, holding all of life in a gentle, timeless embrace.